Oh, God.
Hello, and welcome to the Stubzcast. This week we have Removable Sanity. Now, the Stubzcast is the content creator podcast where I talk to other content creators about their journeys into content creation. It's all about the community sharing tips and tricks. How are you doing, Removable Sanity?
I am. Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be on. I must admit, I am a little bit nervous after the big hitter you had on last week. So, yes, I hope I will entertain.
Yeah, I think it would be a good show in general. To be honest, I mean,
Well, that's the main thing.
If any of you don't realise, this is actually the Stubzcast Part 2, because last night we went to do a setup basically to test that Sanity could do it, and what turned into a 10-minute test turned into a 3-hour conversation. So
I told you I can talk. I warned you. I said, please be aware, and it's probably something that mentioned to your listeners. If you're going to listen to this, get yourself a curry or get yourself a takeaway, set your seat up. You could be listening to me for quite a while.
No, you did warn me, but yeah, it was.
What time did we finish? 1 a.m.
Yeah, it was 1
a.m.
We really, to be honest, we really should have turned on the stream and just talked, because this is part 1, part 2's tomorrow. You know.
I think people would have probably said, well, I'm not watching it after listening to that.
Welcome, Matt Barnes. Welcome, UK Dazarus. Hope you're okay, mate. And welcome, the Indie Gamer.
Oh, yes, the man who introduced me to you all, and really to everybody. That's thanks to him, really, that I'm even on here.
Well, definitely. I mean, he's the one that told me about you. And Indie, Removable Sanity just told me that you've been following him for about a year, and he didn't really. He just gone back through all his comments. Yeah,
I feel guilty because it's like I was nice. I was just actually happy to have someone even talk to me. And there's like, I'll just have a check, and it's like, wow, he's been a regular occurrence.
Oh, exactly. You know, it's all good about supporting the community.
How does it feel from you? Obviously, because you had a big hitter on last week, and you've done a complete 180, and you found a complete nobody.
Here's the thing. I mean, this podcast is all about any content creator, whether you've got 30 subs or whatever. It doesn't really matter. It's all about content curation, no matter how big or small you are. I'm not about trying to put all the views in. It's nice, when you have someone big say they'll come on, but it's not the be all and end all. I mean, I do enjoy every show I do, but it's about the stories and having a good conversation, really. I think people enjoy it. It's something different, because in the gaming community, a lot of podcasts are basically the same. To be talk about the same, news stories, etc. And it's a bit different. I mean, at some point, I will get different creators on who ain't gaming creators. But
this is what I like about the Stubzcast. It is so. You are hitting, and which is probably the unique, different thing about what is probably I would say your selling point is, you're willing to speak from the top tier, millions of subscribers, to the ones just starting. In a way, you are going to have a better understanding of YouTube's content creation system than probably YouTube, because you're going to see it from every single person's point of view in every genre, which is, I don't think it's quite unheard of, because everyone normally just falls into a particular genre.
I am in gaming currently, but I have actually asked a few guests that ain't in the gaming content creation if they'd be interested. One of them actually is. So
I think it'd be good.
The guy's just hit 1,000 subs. He has, but yeah, it's got scope. It has. Welcome, Bearded Mac, and welcome, War Stew. Thanks for stopping by.
Another heavy hitter in.
I don't pick him up too much. You get a big head.
But as I was saying, you see, it's what it is. It is just a unique show, and it was like, wow, to even be asked onto this, nervous. I must admit, as I said, especially after big old, Dealer was on board. I've just got to try and live up somehow now to him.
So it'll be fun. It will. Now, here's a question. A few people have actually asked me about you about yourself, and I was going to ask you anyway.
I'm not single. Sorry.
It wasn't that. Removable Sanity. How did you come up with that name? Because it's very unique.
That is a very good question, and actually, not many people know about it. Even they do. It is a weird name, and being an old fart, I won't tell you how old I am. I used to do online LAN PC gaming, and one of the games I was trying to do an online gaming session with some friends of mine was I think it was the original Battlefront.
Oh, wow.
And for that to work, I hadn't got the game, so my mate lent me it and he installed it on my PC, but I had to have basically a username. And after about 30 minutes of typing every bloody name under the sun, I was just like, what the hell was going on? I normally used to have a handler called Hitman. But of course, Hitman's just it's everyone's got a Hitman somewhere along the lines. And I said, I was speaking to the mate of mine and I just said, this is making me lose my sanity. My sanity is being removed by this bloody password system. And it just
right.
It's just like I am about this bloody thing. I was getting a little bit of a mini rant there, sort of thing with him. I said, it is removing my bloody sanity. And at which point I went, removable sanity. Strange enough, it's the only thing that also worked when I tried to do a password and a name.
Oh no, that's quite that's quite interesting.
So it is, yes. Removable Sanity is a unique name, and thank God I came up with that. But that's really it was just an off-the-cuff comment to a mate of mine, almost having a rant trying to get into a LAN lobby system with a username. Which kind of reminds me, how the hell did you come up with stubz? I'm assuming, and I'm probably wrong, it's because you stubbed your toe or something.
Oh no! What it was because we heard for it was to do something to do with a zombie game, stubz in a zombie game. I can't remember what game he said it was. But no, it's actually because years ago I used to play Call of Duty all the time. Back when I was 20. I was still married at the time. I was married at
You're only about 25 now, surely, aren't you?
I'm 35. I played Call of Duty and we all made this clan called, because my first ever gamer tag name was called Stubborn Word 9 on Xbox Live. And we all made a clan called, you had to have II at the start and whatever the middle was, and then a Z capital, then Z. And then I, obviously, because I was stubborn, I went stubz. It was like II stubz. And then obviously it's translated to stubz gaming now. I've only recently changed my gamer tag because Xbox Live created a new system where you can change your gamer tag for free. So I did. As long as you're the first person to that tag, because they made it so someone else could have your same gamer tag, but they'd have the hashtag with a number next to it.
Oh, yeah.
I got the original first. I did.
I tell you what, I hate bloody usernames on and password systems. It drives me up the bloody wall.
You wouldn't like my passwords or my systems I use. I use encryption safes, and the security I've got on a lot of my accounts is quite high.
You got
to in this day and age, don't you?
We've got. Yeah, I mean, my professional job. I have to be. It's just one of the things I do, but I just absolutely hate it. And as I'm getting older, I can't remember anything now. So I've got trying to put it somewhere that I can remember the bloody password.
Have you tried the last path before?
No, I haven't.
It's very good.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, I've just put it under a little notebook, and I've just old school, a little notebook, hardback. Not on a PC or anything like that.
I know, yeah. You to be fair, you are right. I've got a lot of my backup codes written down for Xbox Live, and I do have I've got 2 PlayStation accounts as well. So there's part of the 100 and something million active users. Mine ain't been active in ages.
Oh, bloody hell.
What's
That's
up,
a while, isn't
Dreadful? But yeah, it's not a very interesting story at all, to be honest.
Hey. I'm sure everybody has a unique. Their names come out as some unique way, sort of thing. Yeah. Welcome, everybody. I see there's a few, quite full. Well, that's 11 people in here. Bloody hell!
Yeah, see, look, I've got the heavy hitter, Removable Sanity in the building. People will turn up. I'm telling you.
You mean the person who won't shut up?
No,
they'll soon realise this. That number will come down quickly.
Right. So, so when did you actually get into gaming? Back with the dinosaurs, or do you know?
Oh yeah, back when the dinosaurs. My very first system was an Atari 2600.
Oh, interesting.
And I then moved on to Spectrum 125K, then an Atari. Then I went on to the Sega Genesis, or Mega Drive as it's known in the UK. Yes. Went through all the add-ons to that, so the Mega CD and the 32X, before moving over to PlayStation. Don't hiss at me, anyone in there. You know?
I was on the PlayStation too.
Absolutely. Well, stayed on that for quite a period, and then moved over to Xbox, which I am currently now, sort of thing. But really, the reason for me to move onto those platforms was I was thinking about this quite recently. It was a game I wanted to play, not a console or platform selling game. That, you know, they sell this is a platform and this is a game that's going to make you turn over. It was a game I wanted to play desperately, that then led me to, I would say, flip flop onto a different platform. I don't call it flip flopping. It's just, that's a game I really want to play. Right, move over to it and see what goes on there, sort of thing. And that's what I've always done. You know, I've always gone and found, even back in, you know, when it came to like the Spectrum, I had a chance of either Commodore 64 or the Spectrum. And there was a game on the Spectrum that was called Ghostbusters. The cassette version was amazing. And I looked at that and I was like, I'd need to play that. That's what pushed me into the Spectrum. Same thing with the Mega Drives and Nintendo. It was either Mario at the time or Sonic. And I looked like the technical challenge of Sonic, went onto that. Same thing when it came onto Saturn and the Mega Drive. And then I moved over to PlayStation. It was a game called Tenchu. Looked at that one. I'm having some of that. Then after Tenchu, one of the games I really got into was Killzone. And then a mate of mine introduced me to a game called, I think you're actually playing it right now. It's an old school game, not very big. It's called Halo.
Oh, right, yeah. It's quite funny.
I've been.
Halo is good, but I've owned the Halo collection, Master Chief collection, and the Halo 5 for a couple of years. Well, I bought it a couple of years ago, and I've never actually played through them all. They were just cheap, so I bought them. But yeah, Halo.
I'll tell you what, it was one thing that got me onto Xbox. Was a friend of mine, so he came over because he knew I was a big Killzone fan, and I absolutely loved the first one. Second one better, and then it kind of pitted out around the third and fourth. I was getting a bit bored with that, and a friend of mine said, "Look, I'm playing this game. It's in space." And I was like, "Yeah, all right, fine." Jumped on board, and that was where at the time he played one level, I played the next level, and I moved over to Xbox in that period, really. And I haven't left yet.
I'll have to ask this though. I know people might moan in the chat for me asking it. Did you like Gears of War as well?
I did like Gears of War. It was, at the time, it was fresh, new, and exciting. I couldn't think of anything at the time that was like it. And I did it. Me and my friend of mine, we went through every mode, even insane mode. And if you've played Gears,
goodness,
the last boss is a nightmare.
Goodness, insane! You must be seriously sick at Gears then. Wow.
I wouldn't say that. I would just say it was the last boss is probably, we spent about 3.5 to 4 hours just on that last boss alone. Trying to get past him was a nightmare. And we did it in co-op, so that was probably a little easier. But yeah, we went on insane mode, and it was just, I wouldn't say, and ever since then I've played Gears. but the fifth one is a little bit.
Please go back.
I enjoyed the story.
They need to go back to the dark, if you ask me. The grittiness of Gears 1 and 2 and Gear 3. But that's just my view.
The storyline on the second one and first, that, you know what it was, that plucked at the heartstrings a little bit.
Oh,
I'm not going to spoil it for you. So because some people may have not even played Gears, but it was a storyline of Dom. Really.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, I know
I was
exactly what scene you're on about. There's two memorable moments for him that were both sad.
Oh yes, yeah, definitely. I won't say it, but we can just say, when he finds out his partner, and then I won't say more. But that's what it is. It was a great game, and it still is a good game. But it had it made you want to spend more time with the characters, and that's what Dom, just sold it for me. And I was just like, where's this going? I want to find out how this story moves forward. And in a way, that's in some cases, some of the games I play is because of the story, because the actual, the stories themselves sell me it. And I've got some cracking games I've played, which some people probably have never heard of, based on these amazing stories. And that's what game does. It sells you amazing stories.
Well, you're right, because although Gears 5, Gears 4 is for me. I did rate it a 9 on Gears 5 because it all in all it was a good campaign. It was a big upgrade from any other Gears games.
But I think it missed the grittiness.
It did miss the grittiness, but what I think they're missing, what Gears 1, 2, and 3 had, was, apart from Marcus, I mean, you used to make you feel the story behind all the other players. You don't feel no. So when
with Marcus, he was the main character, but he didn't feel like he was the main character.
If someone was to pass away, I'm not giving no spoilers away. You haven't got the whole backstory on, so you're not really gutted about them. Whereas back then, they used to go into it, didn't they?
That's right. Yeah.
The law, as such to say,
Well, I think you just look. You can tell how people were with the games in general, based on a sideline character and people wanting to know more about that sideline character and finding out he's got brothers.
Exactly. I know.
She's now became
Carmine.
Yeah, he was a sideline character in the first one, and we're like,
they need to make a game, an offshoot about Carmine.
Yeah, exactly.
A little game, or DLC, DLC pack on, or a story on him. There's that many of them. It's unreal. I mean, the amount of babies they must have had was unreal. So there's dozens of them. They just keep.
Back in the day. Well, it's like the old. It's the old days, mate. When we had large families. You needed about 5 or 6 children because some of them, passed away. You needed to keep the farm going, so you had about 5 or 6 children. Exactly. I think that's what the Carmine family was a bit like. It was like, right.
That's probably it.
Oh.
Right. So, what made you want to get into content creation then?
This is going to be a bit. It's not as amazing as probably was some of the other characters on there. Boredom.
Oh, okay.
I am a person who I've got many hobbies, but I've also, one of the things I find myself is I'm a bit like sporadic in that my attention span is sometimes move from one element to another. So, for instance, I ride a bike, I ski, I snowboard, I skydive, I play the guitar, I paint, I do many things because I get bored. And content creation for me came round after watching a couple of YouTubers. I think most people have probably heard of Boogie2998 and Angry Joe. And this was back in the day when I just looked at them and I said, wow, they're just ordinary people and they're coming out with some really funny or interesting clips. And at that time, it's like, maybe I can do that. Maybe I can do that. But being the idiot I am, I wouldn't recommend the way I do things to anyone coming into content creation, because if it's easy, I'm not interested. So for those who probably one of the reasons, you were saying to me is like, I'm slightly different, is that
because you don't actually do the traditional route like a lot of us, like have a PC, have a laptop.
I don't own a PC at all.
It's incredible how he makes videos. So please tell the masses.
I went in and I work on a PC for 10 hours straight minimum. My day job is dealing with, basically I design buildings, as far as I can actually talk about that. And I use a high level 3D program called Revit, and I spend hours on that, and I just spend hours in front of a PC. And it came to me one day, it's like, content creation looks amazing, but why can't we do content creation on the go? And in a way, so I kept my PC at work. That's my work thing. I don't own a PC in the house. There's not one single PC, and I haven't owned a PC since Windows 7. I mean, dear God, that's a while ago, isn't it?
Yeah, Windows. Yeah, it is actually. Yeah, definitely.
And I then think, well, if I can do video content creation, or even any content creation, can I do it mobile? Can I do it on the go? Can I, use a different way of dealing with it? So my content creation is 100% through a tablet and a mobile phone, which is not easy, but to be honest with you, PC will always give you the best way of creating content on this platform, without doubt. It is the best, the quickest, the most efficient of your time. But I looked at that and I was like, well, that looks a little bit boring. What can I do to really cause myself problems? And so I went, right, let's see if I can do content creation through mobile apps, and probably this year's probably been the easiest because of xCloud and stuff like that, and cloud-based sort of systems, and the mobile apps and phones these days are becoming almost as powerful as bloody PCs.
Yeah,
it's the software I'm using is just so much better than what it was 5-6 years ago. With a PC, you can find tutorials, you can find information that just, okay, I need to do an overlay for a video. Perfect. Roll this. Hundreds of tutorials on videos on how to do an overlay. But when it comes to mobile applications, there are more now than there was, but it was at the time very limited, and it didn't always work out the way you want it to. So for me, it is always like, well, I need to tinker with things just to do the most simplest form. Most people would find that absolutely idiotic. And I'm probably sure half the chat's going, you absolute numpty. Why are you doing something like that? Just get a PC. And a lot of people have said that to me. Just get a PC. But that doesn't interest me. I want to try and do something different. I'd like to try and, I'm not going to say the word I'm using, is pioneer, but it's very unlikely. I don't want to think I'm a pioneer. I just want to try and do something different and try and see if I can do something. So at the moment, the way I can set my setup is I can do content creation anywhere. As long as there's a Wi-Fi, decent Wi-Fi, I can do content creation anywhere.
It just amazes me what you do with tablets. Because to me, that looks daunting and scary and too much effort to do it all on tablet. Because but you make it work. You're living proof of
it. So anyone, the way it's not easy, and it's the way I deal with it is a more regimented way of working, possibly. So I've got templates set up. So it's a lot. So I've had to streamline my process to ensure that I get the best work out of my time possible. Making sure my voiceovers, because the way I do, and currently what I do is gaming reviews, just for those who don't know. And I do a video review and a written review, and both go out at the same time for any game I review on the same time. And as I said, I do all that with no PC involvement whatsoever.
I think it's
as stubborn as I can be in a way. And that doesn't, in some cases, it probably means that, you look at indie gamers videos, it's high quality, that's why probably my videos aren't as probably high quality as his sort of thing.
Fastback. How you doing, mate?
Hello, Fastback. Welcome. So yeah, I mean, that's the main thing. I try to do something different, and for love nor money, it's either a good thing or a bad thing. Most people would think I'm an idiot.
I mean, I think it's very good. I mean, it's something different. I mean, you should tell people that all your videos are made on tablet. You might get more viewers. You might get more people checking out your content.
I get a lot of people think I'm an idiot.
But they'll be asking you, how are you doing this?
I probably, to be honest with you, I probably should, because the way I've worked things out, the way I've done things is would mean that anyone could do it. It is. I probably should just write it out somehow and just say, look, this is what I use. This is how I do it. You'll then be able to do. And then if they want to try and go further than what I'm doing, obviously I'm trying to look and go further and get better content out there, create and move and get a better software system out there and try and use these items as everything comes on board. But yeah, I probably should do. I just haven't had the time.
Oh, exactly. You're a busy man, from what I understand. You are.
I am a family man, so a bit like yourself. I have 2 young children. But as Dealer said last week, if you want to come on this platform, you need to put the time in. And there is no excuses. I can't. I won't say I can't put the time in. I will say I'm unwilling to put the time in for one particular reason. My family comes first.
Well, yeah, that's the way.
And that is. But if you have, my family comes first. Second is then my job to make sure they get fed, and then this gaming and content creation is after, sort of thing. And because I previously co-owned a gaming website, and I left that because the second time it was coming out when my second child was being born, and it was just getting way too stressful, and it was causing too many problems in trying to, because I was actually co-owner, I was paying for stuff, monitoring staff, looking after the staff as well, and it was just getting, obviously with work as well. And I mean, it worked out I was probably doing around 17-hour days.
Good.
Was it? So it was a little bit.
Was it a good experience in your opinion, doing the website, reviewing, typing, etc., or was it just too stressful in the end?
The reviewing side of things was actually really enjoyable, but it's the management side of things I found a little bit more stressful. I get on really well with it. Most people, I'd like to think. I'll speak to anybody. But because any website, I mean, I think there's other stuff behind the scenes you don't see to keep that, to keep things running, to keep the systems moving, and at the same time, I kind of put myself in as more of a person to talk to. So if people had issues or they were, checking out their mental health, I would just say, have a chat with me, talk to me, as you can find out. I'll listen and chat your ear off. So that's where I kind of helped out a lot more. And I was also I was the editor and video editor, strangely enough, for their video content creation.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah, it just got to a bit of a head, really. And I was just like, right, I'm going to go independent. It means I can work things around my time and home life and work life a little bit easier. With a website, if you're on there, if something goes down, you've got to be on the ball straight away. You can't, probably wait for the weekend for it to, and fix it then. It's got to be done straight away. And so, yeah, it was a little bit too much for me, I would think. So that's why I went independent, which is what I am now.
Well, that's definitely good. I mean, you don't need all that stress if you got a family, you don't need that kind of hassle when it's not your full-time job either,
And I wasn't getting paid for it either. So, I was actually putting money in. So it's again, with content creation in any format, it's about the time you put in and what you're willing to put in and sacrifice at the same time.
Exactly. You're right.
It is, what you're doing with, same with podcasting, same with video editing, anything. I mean, those in the chat will know video editing is, it's not a small task, and it's not a quick task. I'm lucky the way I do things. I have templates, and so that can cut time down. But it's a game itself, not actually going through the game, playing it, spending time, obviously, because I've got to do that at certain set times because I've got children as well, so I've got to look after them. A standard video editing could take me up to about 8 or 9 hours, and that's not just doing with the written. And then obviously putting it on social media. Obviously, that's the last end of it, but that's still then trying to make sure it's all tagged in. So every review could take you up to about 10 hours minimum.
That's actually led me into a different question there. Do you do the SEO properly, and do you try and do you use like TubeBuddy? Do you use that kind of? Do you do descriptions properly?
This is one thing my channel's been ongoing now since I started in 2015.
Okay.
So mine's quite an oldish channel. It's quite an oldish channel, but if you look at my channel, it has been a hodgepodge of different things because at the time I was chasing trends, which is the worst thing you can do. But of course, no one tells you this.
No, they don't.
No one tells you that, just be yourself. Just find what you're good at or find what you enjoy and be yourself. And that's the main thing to tell from any brand new creator coming on board. It's don't chase trends. Don't do that. Now, obviously, from the gaming website aspect, I learned about SEO and I learned about those items and certain little areas that you can use to help you get further afield. But to answer your question, I don't as much as I should. What I try and do is I try and connect more with the people on Twitter directly. And so if it's like in terms of gaming or particular game, I try and I talk to the publishers and the developers there and go through that path rather than, right, here's this regimented item, so I need to make sure the hashtag here is correct. I try and go that path.
Okay.
That may not always work to my benefit. What about yourself? Do you kind of find yourself going down that path? Going through all the,
I do. I mean, I haven't made a video since last year. I need to make one, but I do, even in the podcast, I do have to go back and I do tag to certain creators. I mean, you'd be surprised. A lot of people actually type in stubzcast. Honestly, I can see it in their analytics. A lot of people do actually put in stubzcast. It surprises me. We're not talking thousands. We're talking a few, but but they do put it in. But I do actually do that, yes. And I do try and do. I need to learn it, and I need to learn it better. And just for the record, everyone, Mass Mayhem, welcome, and I have made you a spanner.
I can see that already in the chat.
welcome, Michael Monkey Punch.
Welcome, Monkey Punch. Oh, blimey.
Yeah, I do try and do the SEO, the tags, and I've got to learn to get better at doing the descriptions as well, because that can really help you apparently as well.
It can, and I've seen some of the videos go up dramatically in views. I mean, when I say dramatically, obviously I'm not hitting the numbers like Dealer is and other much bigger content creators, but yes, you can get. And I think if you look at mine, but there's also trends as well in descriptions I've found. So one of the things I should probably get rid of. I cringe when I do it, but I just probably need to get my backside and gear and actually remove it. Is at the very title I always say, it's this particular game on the Xbox, and then at the time there was a trend of saying full HD. Well, we don't need to really mention that. And I still have got that linked in. It's like almost like a typo now. I always just type it in now. And I probably should get rid of the full HD part of my video, because most videos now are full HD.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
It's like it's kind of, it's the obvious. It's not 720p anymore. It's not 2015. It's even not even before that sort of thing, really, isn't it? Everything these days is HD quality.
It is. By the looks of it, you're gaining subscribers, indie gamers, pushing out your link in the chat.
I know. I tell you what. He's a good dude, Mr. Indie Gamer, I must admit. I said he was hoping to try and get down to have a chat with each other and kind of meet up at the EGX Res. But due to the old pandemic,
that's it. Good. I was going to try and stop you saying the C word then.
I'm not going to say the C word. No.
They called it T-virus on YouTube, did they?
I'll just say the pandemic. Hopefully that's not going to be now. That's a weird thing, isn't it? You're not allowed to say certain things.
Do you know why? Do you know why it is? It's because even if you mention it, it's to do with YouTube trying to stop misinformation going throughout YouTube, and apparently the word triggers the algorithm. So apparently, if it triggers the algorithm, less people will see your video. That's the theory. I don't know if it's true, but if you Sky News, it doesn't matter.
Well, this is it. This is where I think there is obviously the bias between YouTube's bigger channels. What YouTube wants people to promote rather than what it used to be, sort of thing. It does seem to be a bit more, obviously, with the adpocalypse and all that malarkey that's come through. I feel sorry for any brand new creator coming through, because the hoops they're now having to jump through surely is off-putting.
It is, because apparently it's easier to get views and people on your videos than it is to get subs. Apparently, someone said that it takes an average of some people to watch 7 of your videos before they even think about clicking the subscribe button. I think that's a bit harsh. But
to be fair, though, I kind of think that's probably crucial, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but maybe it's because they want to see who you are. Because if you're a video, I mean, obviously, if you've got it in front of you and you're live, they can see who you are. They can see what you're about, and they get a much more clearer picture of who they're subbing to. With the way, obviously, I do things, you don't really see who I am. You just hear this very dodgy voice, or as
I have.
You have. That scared the hell out of you, didn't it? When I accidentally turned on the old the live.
I turned my camera on too, but that was last night, Pete. So you're not going to see it.
Yeah, you don't want to see my face. Trust me, it would put you off. The view count, the viewers on this would go down to 0. I think if they saw my face. I find that obviously, but it is one of those things where you will. I think people do want to see who they're subbing to. They want to see that interaction. They want to see who it is, and so yes, they're going to hold back. Why? Maybe they're just being a bit more picky about who they're subbing to, sort of thing. But
that's probably
what can you do about it? You can't do anything about it. I wouldn't say you play the game. You just hope that whatever you're doing brings a smile to someone's face, and that's what I do. That's what I like to do. I hope I'm doing. I probably isn't. It's probably quite boring, but
yeah, no, very good. That is, yeah, it's one of them things. You are gaining subs. I mean, you can see it. I mean, you said to me in the past couple of months you've gained quite a few subscribers. You have.
Oh, without a doubt. For me, it was, and I think you hit the nail on the head on our conversation last night. So for those who don't know, we had a little bit of a conversation last night.
Yeah, everyone just didn't tune in last night. I went to because Mr. RemovableSanity is on a tablet, so I offered to test the stream for him. Well, this 10-minute conversation turned into a 3-hour one that ended at 1 a.m.
I did warn you. I said, you're going to have to make sure you either turn my mic off or you cut me off straight away. But I will keep talking.
In the end, I did cut you off. I was like,
you did. I think you did.
I felt bad. I was like, but I've got to go to bed.
I will. I will. This is the biggest problem I think I face, and this is one of the reasons I got brought on to the gaming website, which I was with previously by the founders of that website. Is, and I think I told you this story, so I'll tell those who didn't listen to me. I brought on.
Story.
I speak to, when I can, we go to these events. I do try and speak to the publishers and the gaming devs, especially the indie devs, because they are much more receptive to just being talked to. And for any particular reason, I can just talk to anybody, and I seem to get on really well with them. And we went to this particular event. It was Indie EGX Res in London. Very first time I'd been. We were speaking to a particular indie developer. I would say indie mid tier. And after about 40 minutes, I think he excused himself, which is probably a wise move. And my colleague at the time was saying, "How in the hell did you do that?" And I was like, "Well, what are you talking about?" And he said, "In the space of 10 minutes, you found out what his kids' names were, where they're going to school, what they had for breakfast, what he was doing that day, where he was going, and what holiday he had." He says, "I couldn't even get him to find out what he was doing on the game, and that took me 3 different events to go to before I even found out what his kids' name were. You found it out in 10 minutes." And I just said, "I just talk." And unfortunately, that's probably my biggest issue, is I will keep talking and talking. I don't like awkward silences, as you're probably all finding out very quickly. Yeah. I'm just a happy chappy who really likes to talk to everybody, and if I can help anyone out, I will do. And that's it, really. I'll be your friend, whether you like it or not, in some cases.
Yeah, Mass Mayhem said he agrees with you that the indie devs are definitely more approachable.
They are, and
Mass Mayhem also goes to the Res events as well.
They are brilliant for that, and I really, it's a weird thing, really, because when you speak to an indie dev, or even any developer who's of a small creation, of a small team, you really appreciate and probably find out, which as gamers we don't know, how much hell they go through and how much time and effort they really do and sacrifice to get their games out. If you want to try and find out how hard it is to do game creation or game development, speak to an indie dev who's working 15-hour days, then gets home, has a pot noodle, and then starts coding from like 10 p.m. till 4 a.m., has a 2 or 3 hour sleep, and then starts work again, and does that 7 days straight. That's one of the guys I met. He was doing it. I was like, "How are you doing this?" He looked absolutely shattered. He'd been doing it for 6 months, and it was only him and his partner creating this game. Really good game. I think it's called Raging Justice. And it was the amount of dedication, they put themselves, through, and stress they put themselves to get a game out, blew me away. And I was just surprised at how many people didn't know about it. We don't, as gamers, know really. Obviously, those are game journalists, or if you do a bit more in-depth research, you start to learn. Or if you're in, coding in that regard, or any aspect of the gaming development you do. But from your general average Joe picks up a game from a store, you don't really appreciate the trials and tribulations that these people go through.
No, you're right. I mean, because it's like this is my thing. I do speak to a lot of people now. It's only recently that I've actually appreciated more indie based games, because like this is the one thing people need to get past. It doesn't have to be a AAA banger to be a masterpiece. It can be a small game. I'll bring this game for a lot. I love it. In my opinion, one of the best games I've played is What Remains of Edith Finch. Have you played it?
No, I played it. Yes, it was very good.
And I think
there was a particular scene that really got me, though.
Yeah, that's a good game. Now, a lot of people I know can't get past, it's an indie game. You've got to get past it and think this is a game, give it a chance. A lot of people ain't willing to. It's a bit of a stigma within gaming.
It is.
I only play AAA bangers,
this is the biggest issue, and I think because I'm different, and again, this is one of the reasons I jumped on different platforms. Was I play games I want to play, so I'm desperate for playing a particular game, and it was one of the reasons I moved on to a different platform. So when I started switching over, it was like, why did I get the Sega Saturn? Because there was a game called Deep Fear on there. It was amazing. It wasn't a console or platform seller, but it looked amazing, and I wanted to play it. The same thing when I jumped from Sega to PlayStation, a game called Tenchu. It was something I wanted to play, and so I've always gone in as it's never been the big hitters, the big platform sellers. I've never really been interested in. So when I got to the point where I am now, I then started looking at these AAA games. So I'm getting bored. Again, it's like there's nothing really here that's getting me worked up. And so for whatever reason, I just kind of went backwards, and I started looking at the indie games, and that is when I started seeing the much more, what was best I'm trying to think of the best wording to say is, these seem to, my juices flowing again, because they were being more innovative, and they had to be, because they don't have the money. They've got to be. They haven't got the funds. They've got to go down different paths. They've got to make their game stand out. So with your AAAs, they can just tweak something and call it a big change.
It's not
people
really.
Like, for crying out loud, this is the same bloody thing again.
FIFA. FIFA's. I don't care what you say. I've got mates that buy FIFA every year, and it's the same bloody game every year. I don't know why I just don't charge them for an update patch. Oh no, they've done this, and this, and it doesn't really look any different.
No, it doesn't.
You know what I mean?
But if you look at indie game, you will see they are trying every technique, and sometimes it's just they've found something, they've done something because they couldn't afford to do something else, or they didn't have the money to do it that way, so they've done it this way, and it's a completely different way of dealing with it. And so, in a way, I have completely switched. I don't think I was ever a AAA fan. That's probably unique. Or maybe not. Maybe I think generally, I don't know if people are AAA fans.
So
maybe it's because I'm old. Because I was like, we used to go 3 games a year. Which game could we ever possibly? Because your parents we couldn't afford games at the time. It's like 50 quid a game. It's like, Jesus, we can't afford that. You only get one for your birthday, one for Christmas. Choose carefully what game you want. And it didn't matter if it was it was like, which game do you want? Because that is all you're going to get. And so I've kind of got that ethos, and it's continuing way through.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you are right. I mean, only a few years back in the 360 generation, and I never used to have many games each year. I used to have probably 2 or 3 games a year. But now with the change in the game industry, where it's all about, well, I've got Game Pass Ultimate, and now I'm just not playing nasty. I'm spoilt for choice. That's the problem now. Now there's too many games, plus the backlog. Now I don't know what to play. That's the problem. Whereas before, I wasn't spoilt for choice because I didn't have the choice.
This is where I think we are, and this is going to be a bit of a controversial topic in this regard. And this is where, as you rightly said, we are spoilt for choice in terms of what it is. You look at someone who's a PC gamer, and again, I was a PC gamer myself, 100%. I've got friends who'll tell me it's like, oh, I've got 1,600 games on Steam. It's like, fantastic, great. And it's like, what do you play then? He goes, the same 3 games. Consoles are now doing the same thing with this, digital age. We are now doing the same thing. I've got, I prefer obviously cases, and I prefer physical. I'm probably old fart in that regards, but I have also got digital. But I can see that when you're getting some free games or something from the Xbox, Gold, they just sit there, and it's just, oh, I'll play that. And my collection of games that I haven't played is getting bigger. I've actually got a tab under my Xbox says not played, really? And it's bigger than halfway through or completed, because I just because I flick as well, which is another bad thing. I've got a habit of where I will sometimes sit down, play a game till it's about 80-90% way through the game, and it's like a magpie. Oh, shining, brand new game. And then I'll think about going back to that game, and I'm like, I can't remember the controls. I can't remember what the hell I was doing. I'm near the end as well. I didn't complete it.
Bro, you're right. I mean, I'm the same. I mean, a while back I was playing Batman Arkham Asylum, and I got to where you fight Poison Ivy, and she's a bit tough. She is, and I tried it about 25 times. I thought, screw this. It's on my console still, but I haven't gone back to it.
Went straight back onto Gears.
I don't. This is the thing. I know. I bang on about Gears. I don't play it very often anymore. It's on my console, but I don't. But
you are a family man now.
But people might remind you in the chat that if you ask Mayhem in the BG4GDM, I have installed that game and uninstalled that game about 65 times. Fuck this! I've screwed the game and I'll delete it. Then next day, I've reinstalled it.
Yeah, there are. I mean, also as you said, we're getting older. Well, you're not. I am getting older.
I don't always like to put my headset on. You see, and I've got the kids at night, and I thought I can't really be arsed. So these days, I try and play more campaign games. Just got to have some shout outs. Welcome, ACS Husk, and welcome Ben Dude, and welcome Tyrus.
Tyrus, welcome.
Thanks for checking out.
Do you find, and this is probably for the older amongst us, this is when I did play heavy, AAA games. What I used to do, because I didn't have any responsibilities, I could knock out a AAA game in a weekend. And so, like stuff like Red Dead Redemption, it would take me. I'd get on it Friday after work. I'd play it till about 4 a.m. in the morning, have an hour's kip, go through it again, and I'd get through that and get through that entire game in about in a weekend. Hard, it would probably probably about 4 or 5 hours sleep. The idiot I was, I'd knock out a game like big game like that. Now I'm lucky if I hit probably the first 8 missions after about a month of it.
Well, see, I'm different. When I was married, but I had no responsibilities. I was gaming a lot, but I was the opposite. I didn't actually play the campaigns. I literally sat on Call of Duty, playing the online mode, multiplayer. After a while, I mean, because up to a couple of what game was it? I haven't bought a Call of Duty game since about Black Ops 4, because I used to always say, I ain't buying this Call of Duty this year. F off. By a few months later, I would buy it, but I haven't actually bought a Call of Duty since, and I'm completely off Call of Duty now.
One of the games that got me into online gameplay was actually the PlayStation 2, and
it's a great console. That definitely.
And
did you agree with me that it had the widest variety of genres of game styles? You do not. I'm sorry, but you do not get the variety now that you got back in the PS2 games. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat. Do any of you agree with that statement I just made?
I just said, I hear like UK Desert, so I feel old as fuck at the moment. I hear you, brother. Honestly, I agree. There is. I think they did have an amazing setup, amazing lineup of games. From I said it was my collection is actually, strangely enough, I've got probably around 70, 80 games just from the PS2 alone.
You still got them?
Oh yeah. Do you know what? If I showed you my collection of old stuff, and this is how bad it is, we've got one of those beds that is like you lift it up, you've got storage underneath it. And my missus on one side has got clothing, and all on the left-hand side, I've got all my old games from my PlayStation, my Mega Drive, from my.
Well, keep it, Indie gamer. What's your opinion? What's your favourite console that's got the best variety of game genres? Then, in your opinion,
Jesus Christ, you really are putting me through the ringers here, aren't you?
Andy doesn't agree with me, but in my opinion, it was PS2, but
the PS2 definitely is up there. Right, it was definitely one of the ones that picked up. It hit everything in terms of the choice you could get, and I think I'm going to go with PlayStation 2. And the reason why I'm hesitant is I'm trying to get through back my memory, whether or not the Sega Saturn had a similar, much more smaller amount of games, but in terms of variedness, I think the Sega Saturn also had a pretty good selection of different games. Now, I'm probably wrong, and probably people are like, you idiot. But I think, if I remember correctly, they also had a pretty unique selection of genres. Admittedly, they had a much more smaller base of games, nothing like the PlayStation 2s, but they had a pretty wide variety of genres, though. Plus, it also houses one of my favourite games of all time, which is Panzer Dragoon Saga. So,
what's up, Cyber Gunter? What's up, Wall Stew? You back? But no, you're
he got bored, went for something to eat.
I mean, Mass Mayhem, not Mass Mayhem. The Indie Gamer says he thinks now is the most diverse time, and I do agree to an extent. But I'm still in the
diverse in terms of titles, but in maybe risks. It's because
I think they took more risks back in the PS2 day.
That's I should actually think going back on Indy's request, maybe I think. In the indie gaming industry, there's the most wide variety of genres.
There is now.
Because now people have got stuff that's being replicated versus stuff that's being brand new and created. Some people are like, oh, I like that style. Let's try and make the style, a game of style in that. Well, also, I want to do something fresh and new. So actually, potentially, he could be very well correct in this. I probably wouldn't say that in terms of your AAA studios. They're kind of stagnant, I believe, in terms of what they're punching out,
and it's broken half a time. Yeah.
But in terms of indie gaming, I probably I think I'm going to change my answer, and I agree with him now. I think it's probably now because of people trying to replicate. I mean, one of the games I'm playing now is called Iron Fury, which is the old 90s style system. It's got a retro feel to it. It's basically, it looks almost like Duke Nukem. It's got that. Oh, I think it's the same system. In fact, they used for Duke Nukem, and they've kind of made a brand new game based on that system. It's brilliant. Absolutely bloody love the game.
Sounds very good. Then that does.
I think didn't BG do a review for it? If I remember correctly.
That's really bad. I can't remember.
And you're part of their crew as well, aren't
you? I know. That's really bad.
I tied a nice little segment. I tied a nice segment into it, and you didn't do it.
Yeah.
No, I think because also Digital Foundry did a recent. They just recently linked it tonight, and I did a quick watch of Iron Fury on all platforms.
Yeah. Iron Fury, yeah. Jeep has done a review of it. Indie Gamer just said, yeah.
That was it. Yes, I recognised. I did watch it. I must admit, and it was like. I agreed with all the points there. It's a really good retro-styled game, and it's just amazing. It's brilliant. And it brings back all the old fart feels, if that makes sense.
I'll tell you what, I have to look up this game. I will. This Panzer Dragoon game, because
Panzer Dragoon, and there's also Panzer Dragoon Saga.
And they all talk about this game. So I'm gonna have to look it up.
You're gonna end up with this. There's two different ones, and now you've got Panzer Dragoon, which was on rail shooter, brilliant game, which is one of the games that got me into the Sega Saturn. Sega Saturn. But for me, the pinnacle of the Panzer Dragoon titles was Panzer Dragoon Saga, which is an online shooter, but it had a large amount of RPG elements to it as well. And I've sunk hours into that game. I mean, I've completed every potential minor aspect to it all. Superb game. It would be brilliant if they did a remaster or remake. I'd say remaster rather than a remake.
Remake's a lot of work.
Yeah, I would. I don't know. It's just I love it so much. There's certain games that in a way, it's a bit like film. I don't want them to touch. Let's just enjoy the nostalgia of it.
I know.
Sometimes maybe going back.
When did that originally come out then? Because obviously Daz is calling me a fanny for not knowing.
Oh God, Jesus Christ, that must be in the 90s. Daz, you'd probably know this. Is it in early 90s, possibly? My memory in terms of gaming, it could be the early 90s. I'm probably wrong.
Welcome, Seth from the Oddcast crew.
Ah, nice one. Welcome.
He's on. He does the. I think he's part of the Fireside podcast as well.
Yeah.
Thanks for stopping by.
He's nipping in to find out all your secrets.
Oh, yes. I'm a genius.
Haven't they got a Panzer game in production at the moment? Yeah, I could be wrong. No, indeed, you are correct. They just did the original Panzer Dragoon, and as far as I'm aware of, being the nosy person I am, I think they are doing the second. I think as far as I'm aware of, there's a petition to do the third, but I haven't heard much from it.
Oh, okay. That's fair enough.
I do try and keep myself involved in the gaming news as much as possible, just to see also what's going on and see where we are going. What do you think of this generation? Do you think it's a good generation so far?
What this generation of for Xbox or for the games as a whole?
I think as a games as a whole.
Games as a whole. I think it's a fairly good generation. Yes, correct. Yeah, I do. But still,
you were hesitant about the Xbox for a second there.
If you're talking about exclusives, then if you're talking about Xbox, I'm going to tell you, yeah, it hasn't been a great generation, to be honest.
Do you want to hear probably an unpopular opinion?
But I'm probably going to get dislikes for saying that what I just said.
This is probably what I say. Do you want to hear an unpopular opinion? This is probably going to kill the podcast. Do you know what I think? Yes, Xbox at this current stage, the underdog. And do you know what? In my opinion, and again, this is where everyone turns off now. I think that has benefited them. Being a Brit, we like to cheer on the underdog. And in my thought process, I'm thinking now, the innovations they've made now, would they have done that if they were on top?
No.
And I don't think they would have done.
Being the underdog, it has helped them, because there's that saying, competition breeds, I can't think of the saying.
Innovation.
That's it. That's it.
And I think, do you know what? If they come out, because they were on top on the Xbox 360, they were on top.
I say this because they were the dominant, right? And then you get all these fanboys looking at the stats. Oh no! If you look at the stats, PlayStation 3 won, but from what I gather, that was right at the end of the generation when the PlayStation 3 price dropped.
Yeah, when I say at the powerhouse, I'm talking through the whole period. Not just the very last little bit.
That is what killed Xbox at the same time, because they were dominant. They went into next generation being ignorant, thinking, "Oh, it doesn't matter what we do. Everyone will buy us. We're great." And it didn't work, did it?
This has happened on any platform. This is being an old fart. You realise this by seeing different platforms, and it always happens where if you're on top, you're too busy looking behind you to make sure and try to keep your crown. Where if you're below, so if you're underneath, you're just doing anything possible to get ahead. So that's where sometimes they lied, is that Xbox was too busy resting on its laurels, and look what happened. Now, some could say PlayStation's doing the same thing. I don't know. Possibly not. I don't think they are, but I think.
See, the problem is, I'm not being nasty. I'm going to tell you something now, right? I'll probably get hate for this, but although you ain't seen a lot from PlayStation, I bloody guarantee you that they are prepared already.
Without doubt, yeah.
Just because they're not saying anything. PlayStation are market, and what's Stu saying? They haven't. Oh, no, sorry, what's Stu?
Have always been market leaders. That's what
they haven't.
Saying.
No, they haven't. The PlayStation 3 era was dominated by the Xbox 360, and they were dominant. And
I would say PlayStation's clever at reading the room.
They are, but I do think
they know how to capitalize on particular situations, without a doubt.
They are.
I mean, you look at on the Xbox One when they said, "Oh, you can't share games." What did they do?
Here's the disc.
Exactly.
Here you go. It was funny that though.
It was. You couldn't. I mean, I was like, as an Xbox person, I was like, "That's funny." Okay, they made it fine.
PlayStation have probably already prepared. I don't think they fear Xbox, but I do think they fear uncertainty, because I do believe that every PlayStation sold, I don't care what you say, this is a lot of them have got a backwards mentality. They are watching Xbox slowly and carefully. What are they doing? And taking notes. And I think every PlayStation 5, they're going to want PlayStation Now sold with it. I do believe they're going to drop a lot of their big games in their day and date, and it's coming, but I don't think it's going to come until the PS5 launches and the whole vision is acted out, and it will mimic what Xbox is doing now.
Based on what has happened now and just this current situation, right as we speak, Xbox did a show that didn't go down well received. What did PlayStation do? They looked at that, capitalized on it, and so they said, Xbox said, we're going to give you gameplay. They didn't. They give some little bit of gameplay, but they didn't, in my opinion. What did PlayStation do straight away? Gave you gameplay.
Yeah, exactly.
They know what to cap. They're waiting. They're ready and pounced. As you quite rightly said, they're waiting. They've got games.
They give you gameplay, but you don't really. I'll be honest, that Unreal 5 engine looked good.
I'm not talking about that. I was talking about the Ghost of Tsushima gameplay.
Oh, sorry. And now definitely that's right. Sorry, I thought you were on about that tech test.
No, see, now that was a tech test. Now that was clever. Don't get me wrong. That was very clever. But I think their first response really was the Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah,
I think the tech demo hit came in. Maybe just either by they had it already planned. It was going out regardless. But I think it was the Ghost of Tsushima was the one that was really here you go.
Yeah,
get people's interests up, sort of thing.
Welcome, Jokey Pants from the fireside. I like that. Welcome. But yeah, no, I do believe that Xbox has the best start. They're prepped and they've got everything ready, and I think this July event they're going to show some good games and some games that you probably won't expect. But I do hope they do the same policy.
I hope so.
As PlayStation, because PlayStation shows some of them going years out. I mean, Hellblade isn't nowhere near ready. You're looking at another 2 or 3 years. They just showed off the engine. They did.
Well, actually, it's weird because their studio is only about 30 minutes from where I am.
Oh, that's crazy. That is.
I'm quite close to Elite Dangerous, the creators there, and Hellblade.
Oh, that's
Hellblade. What was I? They're all like one of these industrial estates where they got they've picked up and they put their studios there, sort of thing.
I do think that, I'll be honest, I think they're both ready. I mean, everyone keeps saying PlayStation isn't ready, but I do think they are ready, because although people have seen people shuffling around and them not being their normal selves, you got to think Jim Ryan's in charge now. Now, although he heavily played into console war, he was the guy that said 1080p makes you a better gamer. So, I basically think that like Sean Layden left, the guy in charge of the PlayStation studios, and I think like he didn't like he got told PlayStation's new vision, and I think he was told that if you don't like it, Sean, there's the door, and I think he walked out of it. But yeah,
it's a weird one. Do you know what?
Is correct. they haven't really showed any games. Xbox.
No, and I agree with X.
You are right. Yeah,
there was some games. Sure, like whatever they showed piqued my interest a little bit because there were some games I went, oh. One of the things I did kind of think was there seemed to be more anime titles bringing along, which is obviously picking up the Western side of things, which is we've been heavily missing. One of the things that I kind of PlayStation's got down to a T is the Western games. Is it Western? No, not what I'm talking about. Eastern games. Sorry, the Eastern games. Which I look at them and think, oh, some of those are really good. So it's nice that he has gone over there. As he said, he's gone over to Japan. Said, look, I do see that. That was nice to see. But yes, it would be great to see some actual games that we could be completely and utterly interested in.
So here's the thing, right? With that Xbox show, it just happened. I know they said it was third party, but all they would have had to have done if Fable 4 existed is when the stream ended, the screen flash up Fable 4 and the internet would have broke just with a logo.
This is where again Xbox has a now.
I'm not saying I think if it does,
no. Do you know what it is?
Show the logo.
I think the PR department has lost confidence.
But Game Pass PR department are great.
I think because you think about it, every time they try and do something, they misread.
Exactly.
They either word it wrongly. Given their due, they said we cocked up on this.
Yeah,
they did say that,
but they
have seemed to misread what they're trying to sell or what they're trying to show off. From the moment they did the Xbox One and that disastrous event, Jesus, to the moment now, I think they've lost their confidence a little bit. I think they used to know this is it. This is what we're doing. Bam, here you go. This is it. I think they've lost a little bit of confidence in what they're doing, and now they're flailing around to try and find what works.
They may have done, but I do believe their July show is gonna knock it out of the water. I mean, they've got to show PlayStation's philosophy. I don't care. There's always been at E3. PlayStation show games that are years and years away. I mean, they
do it very theatrically, and they do get the crowd going.
Yeah, but they showed They showed one game that was 10 years away once. I'm trying to think of what it's called. The Last Guardian. That was first showed. I know the project was stopped and started, but they show games years in advance. They do, and that is what Xbox needs to show people: what games are coming and what's planned. Because PlayStation World can tell you.
Well, the last game that I really look forward to. You remember the last game that I really look forward to was one with your you had a dragon, which was like you had I can't remember what it's called. It's like a dragon has a pet sort of thing. And it looked amazing, and it got cancelled for God knows bloody unknown reasons. Do you remember seeing the trailer back? It was about a year or two ago, probably a bit more than that actually. Now it was oh my God, I can't think what it was called.
I tell you what. If Fable 4 does exist in the game, and you're taking the biggest L ever, it exists. It does. It exists. Because it would have come out by now and said the game doesn't exist. Or they might not have actually.
I don't know. To be honest with you. It is. There's an old saying, I hope you live in interesting times, and we live in it.
Who knows, though?
This is it. Whatever it is.
If that Inside Xbox was just called Inside Xbox, not the
Scalebound. That was it. Well done, Indy.
Yeah, I do know what game you're on about now. Scalebound. Yeah,
that looked good. I was like, wow, that looks quite good. I'll be interested in that. Cancelled. I was like, why did you do that? There are some. This is it. Some of the games some of the games that I've seen trailers for. I think I shared one recently. There's some games out there just get cancelled for no reason, and there's probably reasons behind it. There's probably development reasons or stuff like that. There was a Legacy of Kain game I think I posted on Twitter about a week ago. Looked amazing. That got cancelled. I think probably about 8 or 9 years ago. So I think Looked amazing. Then you had the Star Wars one. Do you remember seeing the old Star Wars one where he's battling through the ship as it's falling through? Can't remember what that was called either. Certain games just seem to just disappear. I have no idea why. But I do think they need to get it right this year. Xbox do. They really need to get it right this year. And they got to read the room correctly. And I think they haven't done so yet. But who knows? It could be a complete 180 degrees, and they might, in July, we could all be going, Jesus Christ, wow, that's looking good.
Yeah, it is. I've just been sent this link. Dreadpool sent me. Epic China Unreal Engine 5 demo. Look at around 53 minutes in the link above. The Unreal 5 in demo above is 40 frames per second on the 1440p on a notebook GPU, 2080 Max Q by NVIDIA, plus Evo 970 SSD. PS5 demo was at 30 frames per second, 1440p. Did anyone understand that? I didn't. Because it was at 30 frames per second, basically. That's what the point was, I think.
Yeah. Do you know what? This is another, and I think we're going to get it this year. This is going to be. It's now resolution versus frame rate.
I've never experienced
4K.
What? I haven't.
Obviously, now I've got a 4K TV, so I absolutely adore it. I do see the jump from 1080p to 4K, and I absolutely do love 4K. Why I bloody well bought a blooming game. To be honest with you, for me, I don't mind if it's 4K at 30 or if it's 1080p at 60. What I would like, and again, this is only me, is options. Options to tailor what I would like, whether I want to prioritize resolution or I want to prioritize frame rate. Just give me options. That is it. You can hit whatever target you want to do. Just give me the options, because then that will stop people. It won't stop people. It will maybe reduce the amount of issues that we're having at the moment. It's like, oh, you should do this, you should do that. No, just give us 2 options. That'll be it. That'll be perfectly fine.
Right, exactly.
But then I'm pragmatic. I'm not really interested in these, a particular arguments. I'm old. I mean, I was saying to you yesterday, wasn't it? As I remember hearing about platform wars. When you're as old as me, platform wars
you surprised me. You did what you told me. Tell everyone else. They might know already.
There was a particular. I don't know who it was on Twitter, and I'm sure, as you do, you scroll through people, and it was at the time when people were talking about gamers, as they always do in a negative format, and they were saying, platform wars is the worst it's ever been, and I literally laughed out loud. Actually, laughed out loud when I saw that on Twitter. I was like, "You what?" Maybe in terms of the amount now, because in terms of the internet, but platform wars have always been hellish, regardless of what platform. I was saying to you, I remember seeing 2 kids beating the living crap out of each other over what was better, the Spectrum 125K or the Commodore 64. If there's a different platform, there is always going to be a fanboy. If there's a fanboy, there's always going to be a fanboy war. It happened back in the Spectrum days, it happened in the Mega Drive and the Nintendo's days, it happened in PlayStation and Xbox days. It will continue happening. There is no way, I never foresee that not happening. But to say it's the worst it's ever been, maybe in terms of now we'll recognise it because it's online, but no, I've seen people beat the living hell out of each other way back in the day. It is still as prevalent as it is. But as you get older, you're kind of just like, really? You just can't be bothered.
Well, no, it's just a bit silly, It is. Welcome, Michael Mullers. How you doing? Original Next Level Gaming. Thanks for stopping by.
Much appreciated to all those who are still here, to be honest with you.
I'm
surprised they haven't buggered off.
That's what Dealer was teaching me. Drop a like, share it out, and drop a subscribe.
Yes, please do. Do listen to the old podcast. It is informative, even if it is just two people rambling, or me just rambling on for the moment being.
Right, let's get back onto the creation part.
Oh God, yes.
You don't give out review scores. You give out. Why do you do that? Because you don't give out review scores, do you?
No, I don't. And to be honest with you, I have fallen out of love with review scores. What I mean by that, I have review scores. Well, reviewing any game is always subjective to your opinion. But it's even more so when it comes to a particular number. What I believe as, say, is maybe a really good game at 7, some people would say, you're nuts, it's a 9. And so what I made the view of was that, well, if I review it without a number, it would cut out that potential argument, cut out that negativity. So the way I kind of do it, I say, I do it as in a, I can't draw my score reviews now. I think I say like avoid, rent or wait till later on. Great game or or instant purchase sort of thing. It's a little bit easier, I find.
Yeah.
And it cuts out maybe the potential for toxicity or arguments that don't need to be there. If I don't know about other people, but when I look at someone's review, so if I'm looking at a game, so I'll go for instance, I'll do Iron Fury. I keep saying this, but I'll look at Iron Fury. I went through on the PC because it's been out on the PC for a while. I must have looked at about 6 or 7 different people's videos, and to gauge what that game was about. Now, if they and each of them had all different ratings. Most of them had different ratings.
Yeah.
And you can see people in the comments going, "Oh, this person's given that an 8. You've given it an 8.5. What's wrong with you? Are you nuts?" It's like, why go down that path? If you're going to get people who are just going to argue over your opinion. So it's like, well, okay, fine. I'll stick with, great purchase, you must own, avoid, or wait till later sort of thing. It's a
good system, but I do like to give the review score though, if I'm honest.
Do you know that's another thing? You think I then worry because of the review score, the number.
But one thing
do you become addicted to it?
One thing I do hate though is a little website called Metacritic. I hate it because Metacritic. Well, I don't know if you understand this. There's a dark side to Metacritic. Basically, some of the big publishers pay the developers. Say they want to build a new game, and a lot of them get their funding off the big publisher. A lot of the devs do. That's how it works. And from what I understand, in looking around on how Metacritic works, is they pay you the budget for your next game based on your last Metacritic score. Now that is bang out of order. That's not right.
You see, this is another thing.
Not on how well it's sold or anything, but apparently that's what a lot of the big publishers do. They look at your Metacritic score and pay you based on that.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing.
I don't agree with it.
Well, see, this is another thing. You can't manipulate someone when their score isn't a number.
Exactly, you can't. You're right.
What can you say? Oh, I think it's a great purchase. What? I think it's an avoid. How do you can't manipulate that? If you get a publisher, and maybe that's why I'm lucky enough that when I speak to publishers and that I do get review codes for a small channel.
That is what surprises me. But you must have the gift of the gab,
My friend said to me, you could sell ice to an Eskimo, and I don't know if that's true or not, but I do. But again, there's another aspect to when I speak to publishers, because I'm lucky in that gauge. I got into the industry. I've been playing games since day naught, sort of thing. I've got into the industry. I've talked to people on a regular basis, but I always go with one particular thing. I am polite, I'm respectful, and I try at all stages when I speak to publishers, or even developers, to be professional. So when I put in for a review code, the way I write it out is almost as if it's a CV. Here is who I am. Here's what I do. If you can provide me the code, much appreciated. As an independent, I appreciate I'm probably not going to be on your top of your list. And I always leave at the very end, thank you for taking the time for even looking at this email. And then leave it. Don't badger them. Don't do anything like that. I do it as respectful, and that's due to my main job being professional anyway. It's just something as my main job, I've had to learn and work around and learn this sort of professionality. And I've seen people I'm not going to say who they are, but they will say, I think I said this to you. I said, I've got 1,500 subs, 15,100 subs. Give me a game. You're like, that's a bit cheeky. That it's a little bit arrogant. And I don't, you can't really go down that path. The best way to even speak to to get involved, if you are going to go into gaming reviews, or if you're going to go into that, is be as respectful as you possibly can, because they owe you nothing.
They don't.
Now, don't get me wrong, it helps their cause. It helps them get the PR they may need. But no one owes you anything in this platform. No one owes you anything, regardless of how big you are, regardless of how small you are. And if you can remain professional regardless and keep your emotions out of it, I know it's not easy.
I mean, what game was it you got? Because you said to me last night, you said you got a game that you shouldn't have really got. You said you got a review code. And you said you didn't think you had enough subscribers to get it, but you still got a copy of it.
Oh God, now I can't think what it was. I think it was. I think it was called Grip. There was one of the games I called Grip. I was from Wired Productions. I was like, damn,
okay.
That was a thing. I know we spoke about yesterday about where I got 2 codes.
Yeah, that was very, very good.
And this is the difference. Again, I'm not trying to big myself up. This is it is. When you get a review code, sometimes you either get it a week before, or you don't get it. Sometimes you get it a day on bloody release, which is a nightmare to try and get things done. In some cases, if it's a multiplayer game, you may get a code and a second code, so you can experience the multiplayer. I got a game with 2 codes, and because there was enough online people on there, I didn't use the second code. Now, most people just keep that code. I feel uncomfortable doing stuff like that. I really just feel it gets the heckles up in my back of my neck. And so I literally went back to the publisher and I said, look, I know why you've given me a second code. I don't need it. I've got enough information. I've got enough captures and video quality, with the multiplayer in mind. Take it back. Now, some people would have just basically not told them, kept the code, or even just, used it to, buff themselves up and said, who wants a free code if you had been 1,000 more subscribers, I can't do that. I feel guilty for every code I receive. If I'm not doing the best I can, and in terms of reviewing it professionally, I feel guilty. It's probably very weird, and probably people are thinking, you tit. I can't. So I literally sent it back and said, there you go. And they said, oh, okay, thank you very much. I don't think many people will do that.
No, they wouldn't. I mean, it's very respectful because, like you say, some of these devs work really hard on their games, and they don't really know if this one game they made, they spent all this money on, all this, as they say, blood, sweat, and tears or whatever into a game. They don't know if anyone's actually going to buy it. So that one game could put their studio under. Do you know what I mean? It's all the risk,
It is. And don't get me wrong, there was a game I was. This is probably where and again, it's another controversial opinion, I do get annoyed with some reviewers. Throwing back to the professionality of it. And it was a game called The Decay of Logos. And through no fault of their own, the publisher had sent out what I would classify as a beta build to the reviewers, including myself. And it had a lot of areas broken in it. Now, I could see there was problems with it, but I just stuck with it, continued through with it, and played the game sort of thing, and completed it, no problem. When the other reviews came out, they tore it to absolute shreds. And the trouble is, I'm thinking they do their footage was like for the very first zone, so you could see they hadn't gone beyond that. In one of the instances, I think it was IGN was talking about it, and even in their own review, this is the big mighty IGN said, "Oh yeah, this has only got about 2 different types in it." And it's like, no, it hasn't. It's got well over 30 different enemy types. What the hell are you talking about?
Oh, IGN, yes. I'll tell you what.
Do you know what it is? I went onto their website, their comment section. I said, "You are so wrong," and I listed out. I think I said a bit more than that. I listed out. I said, "This. You're missing this. You're missing the home hub. You're missing the RPG elements." She was like, "Did you even bother to play this game?" In fairness, the publisher did mess up, and they gave him a bad build. They gave everybody a bad build, but they couldn't even be bothered to play the game enough to give it, and then they gave it a review based on that. So they had given it a review based on what I would estimate the captured footage they had. I would say they didn't even get to the first boss, which I just like. How are these people doing this? That frustrated me, and that annoys me. Is when they don't want to, or they think because it's an indie game, maybe because these were done by 4 people. It wasn't worth their time taking the professionality to it. Well, and that's what gets up my back a little bit.
Yeah, it's annoying because there was a game. There was they reviewed Crackdown 3, and when you watched the video, it was like they didn't want to be playing the game, and they just I can't remember what the review score was. They rated it crap. Well, that wasn't the rating, but it was a very poor score. And you can there was no enthusiasm. There was nothing. They missed a lot of parts of the game out, like you say. But I think it's just a job to them, and they don't really care.
And fairness to them, and this is probably now me being the polite guy again. When you are reviewing games for a website or you're doing it professionally, it can become just a job. And that is another thing as well. If you're doing it on such a regular basis, keeping up your enthusiasm and your biases in check, and also a little bit of your ego, I must admit, is hard. Because I've looked at games and I've put my hand up here. I'm thinking, oh, dear God, that looks a bit crap, doesn't it? But one thing I always do is I still put I still always ask for a review code.
Yeah.
And it's then I play the game. And do you know about 99% of the blood time it shocks me. I'm like, dear God, this is great. And I'm like, but I had a bias here. I looked at something from the beginning. I read it like, I said, read the book, read the cover and judged it.
Yeah.
And it always shocks me. So it is a little bit, and it's the same with any job. You get complacent, and if it does become a job, you do become complacent. And so you do have to try and, I don't know, I had it myself, sometimes you're reviewing a game and you've just got to go, do you know what, I'm going to hold back and try and think of it in a different way. Because you can fall into this just a job attitude, just I've got it out quickly enough, that'll do. I've only done about, that they'll be happy with this poor excuse of a attempt. That'll be fine. No one will care. No one will look at this anyway. Once you get into that rhythm, it's very hard to get out. And so I forever try and make sure that I'm always checking myself, and that's just me being probably a bit picky of how I'm doing things, that I don't fall into that trap. But I must admit, I have seen other content creators, and where it doesn't seem like a lot of effort's been put into it, and that frustrates me, especially when it comes to indie games. It's like, why are you not putting the same amount of effort? If this was Doom Eternal, you'd make a 45-minute video on every particular aspect. Oh, that bit of graphic over there is amazing, but because it's an indie title, get a 3-minute just singular gameplay with me talking over it.
Yeah, it's not right, because some of these games could be because I bought For instance, I bought have you played the game Dragoon?
Mm.
Have you played it or you heard of it?
No, I've heard of it.
I bought that for £16.74. I tell you what, it's the best £16.74 I've ever spent. That was only an indie game.
My games have now switched. I said the juices are coming from in terms of the gaming. I used to be one of these guys who picks up, I wouldn't say in the major AAAs, but I did buy AAA games. Now I view AAA games hesitantly, where I'm more willing to try different indie games. In fact, I'm kind of salivating in some cases now to look at an indie game than I am to a AAA game. Because the AAA game, by the time it comes out, you probably know about most of the game. It's like you know what the game's going to be. You know all the graphics it is. You know where the story is going to be. You probably know the background, how they created it, and all that stuff. They've just put so much out there. You know the game off by heart anyway. With an indie game, they do the best they can, and you have to experience it to then understand what the hell it's doing. So I found, as I said earlier, the innovation seems to be much more prominent in indie games. Don't get me wrong, I'm still buying your AAA game here and there, but I'm finding myself more and more disappointed. Is probably the better terminology I find.
Well, yeah, I can see your point there, because sometimes a game, say you played you really got into a really good indie game, and then you buy this game that's been hyped up, loads of adverts, you got excited, and you put it in, and I was like, oh, this is a bit boring. This ain't like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'm just wondering is how many other people are feeling that.
Exactly.
How many other people are having in that, are looking at this and going, so it's Battlefront 5. Is it any different to Battlefront 4? As you said, FIFA. Is it really any different? No, not really. Gears to a little bit has kind of teared off a little bit.
I will agree with you.
Gears,
I will agree.
Gears was always the story. The multiplayer was a fantastic addition. I loved the multiplayer, but the story was what got me.
Exactly. I have got a question from Goat Force Gaming. He's new to the community.
Welcome, Goat Force. I saw your trailer, by the way. Very good. For his channel. Do have a look at it.
He's a good lad. Basically, he's asking that. He said, "How many subs or followers does it take for someone? Basically, how realistic is it to approach a publisher with a professional request? Like, what kind of following do you require?" That's what he's actually.
Good question.
He's relatively new to the scene.
Good question. To be honest with you, I think it comes around with the way you ask more than if you're linked to a website. I'll give you this now. If you're linked to a website, you will find you'll get a better response in terms of getting codes. You will get a better response because they see you as more professional, and their metrics there they can gauge. For an independent creator, it is a hell of a lot harder. It's very hard. I would class myself as exceptionally lucky. And the only reason I classify myself exceptionally lucky is is because I've put in a little bit of work speaking to publishers on a regular basis, and I assume I'm never going to get code. I always assume it's always a surprise to me I even get a bloody code, to be honest with you. I'm not very big at all. And I build the rapport up with the game developer and the publisher. You can't get to the game developer, because the publishers, you have to go through the publisher, and they almost like gatekeep the actual game developers out of the way, because sometimes they can say things and leave hints and give away hints and stuff of the game, so they try and get you through the publisher gate. But if you can go to events, especially where you can actually meet the developer or even speak to the publisher, do so. Get a rapport, speak to them, build up a confidence within yourself as well as with them, and also try and be as professional as you possibly can. I would try and it's like a CV effectively. You are touting yourself as a games reviewer, a games journalist, a games enthusiast, and they are going to have to take a risk on you. So the less risk you can make for them, the better. So if you've got a good rapport with them, that is the best thing in the world. In terms of numbers, to be honest, mind you, I haven't got many. I think I've got about 230, 40, but I have various different platforms in where I actually publish my content. And I tell them this. I tell them straight from the off, this is what I do. I know I'm very small, but if you can be willing to do so, thank you very much. So in terms of numbers, I would say you're probably looking, I would think, minimum of 100. Before going into potentially asking, and also I'd give yourself potentially a good chunk of time in terms of what you created. So basically build up a backlog of videos which you can showcase them. Think of it as like your portfolio. The way I know video content is a hobby for me and I absolutely enjoy it, but at the same time I kind of use it as a portfolio of what my work is. So when I do send a code out or do a request out, I say, here's my videos, here's what I've done before, here's the written content. That's another thing which makes me a little bit different. I do video and written content at the same time. I publish the written content on a website called minds.com because that's it's a very nice and easy social media site.
I'm on there. I've not posted.
Oh, are you? Well, then you should probably follow me in Numpty. Yeah, I'll try and find you. Yeah. It's a really good site. Now it does have, it's respectful as far as I am in terms of gaming and stuff like that. I've never seen any real issues. Unlike Twitter where you're in forever in spouts, I just seem to get very nice people talking to. Maybe it's just what I'm publishing or putting out there, but it seems to be very nice. And so I'm different in that way. As I go in, I put a video and a written review. And I tell them that. I say, this is what you're going to get. So you're selling yourself. So I would try and go in the short term, build yourself up a little bit, get comfortable with the software you're dealing with, get comfortable putting out content, and find a niche that suits you. You can then push or brand yourself to these people. And don't be afraid of if you get a rejection letter. I go out and I go through the internet, I look at the games that are coming out, I then find their website, I try and find if I can find a contact for them. So this is for me trying to, that takes a good hour or two, trying to find the contact maybe, or PR contact. Then I send them the email, and if I get something, it's a bonus. That's how I view it, and I've been very lucky to get a good rapport with some publishers, and they sometimes just continue to give me codes. They either like what I do, and even now, that's not always the case. They may say, actually, you're not too small enough for us, but I think you've got to try and come across with a bit of professionality that you're doing it to try and show. I'm kind of blathering on a little bit here. I can't cut myself out a little bit.
It's all great advice. And Indy's also dropping great advice to Goat Force Gaming. You're getting education here, Goat Force. You are?
Yeah, think of it as, again, it's mostly trying to brand yourself, be professional, and show off what you can do. That's whether you're streaming, whether you're reviewing it, whether it's written or video, or any way you're going to try and showcase yourself off. Be respectful, be polite, be professional, and accept rejection, because you are going to get a lot of rejection. I would say 80% of my emails are rejection, but it blows my mind when someone goes, yeah, here's a code.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I can tell you now, Goat Force Game, if you think you're going to get a game like Final Fantasy VII, you're going to need at least 30 to 40,000 subscribers to start with.
Well, actually, even more than that, because to be honest with you, they will. Certain publishers will never actually issue to independent creators.
They also are as well. Even if you're like 80 to 100,000 subscribers, I've heard that
they won't do it.
They update and are.
They won't do it. Certain. No.
You know,
it is.
Some devs, once they've sent you a code, they just keep sending you codes. I don't know if that's true. Some people like Daz, he's got a few devs that just every time they got a new game, they DM him a code to do.
Yeah, the same thing happens to me, and again, I think it's if you've got a good rapport, but also be aware it's fickle. It's very fickle. Your reputation is at stake every time you do a video. So, if you really hate a game and you're truthful, as I often am, and I don't say I don't like it.
Oh, you
prepared for the backlash.
You can't accept that. I've heard of big YouTubers. Basically, well, I'll use an example. Saying Anthem's trash, and they reckon EA have blocked them from getting any future codes. Stuff like that. You know.
Yes, you'll be blacklisted. Yes,
that's on the big scale. Then, though, it's a bit different.
But they will do it on smaller scale as well.
Oh, I don't know.
But to be honest with you, they just don't talk to you anymore.
Oh, okay.
But you have to be prepared for that. You have to be prepared for that. Your best way, if you're going to go into stuff like that, just start off reviewing games you already got, or if you've got Game Pass, review games on there. You know, and don't worry about the fact that other people have reviewed it. That's another thing. It's
still relevant because you can say it's in Game Pass. You know,
exactly. Well, also I find don't worry, and this is just me. I'm sure other people, bigger people, will say differently. I don't worry about. I mean, I try my 100% my best to hit embargoes, but in terms of certain ones, they actually send you a game on the date it's released, which is an absolute bloody nightmare. However, if you don't hit an embargo, I think sometimes it can be a benefit because, say for instance, a game comes out, say this coming Friday, you'll get everybody talking about it Friday. Monday, no one's talking about that game anymore.
Yeah, you're right.
If your content drops out on Monday, you've done a bit more of a surge in interest in that game again. So instead of just one day of people having interest, they're now getting interest in it at a longer period. So don't always think just because you can't hit that deadline, you know, it's a bad thing. Obviously, it helps, and it'll help your channel out, and it'll help your content creation out if you can be seen. And I've seen many content creators break embargo by a couple of hours just so they can be the first, especially for indie gaming titles. I've seen it numerous times.
That can actually hurt you if you break it.
The trouble is with indie games, they generally don't come back at you, which is a little bit of they don't penalize you.
Oh, you know, big YouTubers. I don't remember a while back. There was a big YouTuber. I don't remember his name, or he's a big streamer, and it was an Ubisoft game, and I can't remember who it was, but he was told not to stream this game, and he streamed the game.
Yes, I remember hearing about it. Yeah,
and they deleted him. They deleted it. You know, they got a hold of his account. And they deleted his entire life.
I remember hearing about that. Yeah,
it was in the NDA terms of service, and he never read it. And they deleted his entire gaming library within the account.
Yeah.
They really taught
you won't get. You see, the big YouTubers will get that. For the indie developers, I'm not saying they won't. Don't get because you might get a publisher come aboard and say something, but
teach them a lesson.
It's less. You know. Yeah, it's less of a penalisation.
Yeah.
But for me, it's just I refuse to do that.
Yeah.
Again, because it's just that professionality. Try and think of your professionalism. How do you want to be received? How do you want to be viewed?
Exactly.
And but then I've had to learn that because of the job I work. Generally, I have to. I deal and talk to people, and if I come across as a crass arse, they're going to view me as a crass arse. If I come across as someone who's professional and respectful, they're more willing to potentially engage with me. And it's the same thing generally, so hopefully that's helped.
Oh, I think it's helped most people in general. If someone's listening to this podcast, as we're now downloadable as well, it will help most people. That's sound advice, and the indie game was also dishing out advice too. He's very knowledgeable in that area. From what he was saying, people just send him indie games in his DM box.
Yeah, having it in his title, the indie gamer, does probably kind of help him really well, doesn't it? Sort of thing. RemovableSanity probably isn't something they're probably looking at. What the hell is this? Is he a reaction channel? Is he some sort of what the hell? With the indie gamer, I think you know exactly where.
He gets a pass on most things. If he hasn't played any big games, you can't really moan at him because he is the indie gamer.
But that's to be honest with you, I always thought indies always helps me out in some games at what's coming in the next couple of months. I've always said to him, he's like brilliant at picking up games that weren't on my radar. I mean, I probably review indie games more than any other game thing at the moment. And I tell you what, it's great to have that sort of thing where, I do my research as well, but sometimes it's always nice to have someone else who kind of points you and goes, by the way, look over there. This is coming out next week. Oh, brilliant. Fantastic. So,
he's like, well, back in the day, we used to get record stores, didn't you? Like, I used to DJ years ago, had that Technics 1210s and that. And it's like records, right? It's like indies in the record shop.
You're a grunge person.
It's like going. Well, no, it was like hard. It was rave music I used to play, and I won't go too much into that. But it's like indie gamers in the record store. He's digging through all the trash, and now he finds the gems. That's what indie does. He finds the gems and lets everyone know. Because there are a lot of rubbish indie games as well, but there's a lot of great indie games as well.
This is the problem. It's with Steam. It's fine. It's thousands of great indie games mixed in with absolute horrific money grabbing ones. And I just spotted what Dreadpool said. He said it's good to network with other people. 100%.
That's what 100%. I do. Even though I don't go after games that much, but
the more you can speak to people, the more you're well known, and that's probably one of my biggest failings, I must admit. Until the indie gamer kind of threw me into the group we're speaking to now, I suppose I was.
Yeah.
I've been lifted from the dregs, of obscurity, and I do thank him for it, because I must admit I was a little bit hesitant at speaking to other content creators. And I was a little bit, I would say, cautious of what they're after. I suppose I kind of was looking at it, like, what are you really after? What do you want?
Yeah, when I first contacted you, were you a bit dubious?
I was very dubious, because I was like, I'd never had anyone, come from the podcasting scene, come over and go, hello. I'm like, hi. But my other benefit is that I talk to anybody.
Yeah. I don't just DM any, because when people follow me on Twitter, I used to thank everyone, but I don't do it anymore. I just engage with whoever. But if I find it, well, basically it's because Indy shouted you out. He says you need to check his content out, so I did, and I liked your content, and we've been talking for quite a while. We have.
Yes.
You're the only guy that actually DMs the Stubzcast account, and not the Stubz Gaming account. You are. So I know who it is when I check my Twitter, because you use Twitter Lite for the Stubzcast account and the normal Twitter account for Stubz Gaming. So I've got a message. I know it's from you. I do, which is good.
Do you know, this is? I think that was just by sheer luck. I think it was by sheer luck. But one of the things I do when I actually go to events and stuff like that, you won't actually see my face either until I start playing the game, because I walk around with a huge, big skull on my head. So I do stand out, and if I don't stand out, and then of course I talk like left, right, and centre for about a good hour to people. Most people, once they've spoken to me or heard me, said, "Oh, I remember you." Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I won't say.
No, but yeah, Dreadpool has also a good point. that you should always be careful who wants to work with you. Yeah.
Yes, and I think your conversation with Graphic God highlights that.
And then I pointed to a different video of what the ins and outs of what happened to him.
Yes,
and that's I think an eye opener.
You have to be cautious with who you are, but at the same time, I would like to think welcome him. I mean, I'll be friendly with anybody. I will be friends to anyone. But at the same time, I'm very blunt, a little bit, and I'm a bit straightforward. But I'll be friendly with everybody. But at the same time, I'm almost a little. If you've been bitten by bad people, you do. Your shield is always up, if that makes sense. And I think that can be a benefit in some cases as well. Just take it slow.
You're doing well there, mate. You've got when Daz is better, he's going to have he's going to have you on the Dazcast. You're doing well there. Yeah.
Bloody hell.
When he's better, so don't think.
To be honest with you, I don't think has he realised how much I talk. Are you sure you're off this, mate? Honestly, he's
listening to you.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a thing.
Have you ever listened to the Dazcast?
Sorry, what's that?
Have you ever listened to the Dazcast?
No, I haven't. No, I'm gonna do it now.
Subscribe if you're not subscribed to UK Dazarus.
I'm going to do that now. In fact, thank you very much. Do you know what I'm? It's a little bit in awe.
It's a great. I don't know. It's not like one of these ultra serious podcasts, though. Where it's we have to talk. It's they have a good laugh as well at the same time. The Indie Game is a full-time panel member of that show as well. When they do.
Oh, okay. Do you know what? This is the podcasting scene is new to me. I do listen to podcasts, but mostly as I'm going through, driving somewhere, and I'm just listening to it. So, but being on a podcast, nerve-wracking, and hoping, because I'm forever thinking, am I entertaining? Am I talking too much? Am I talking bollocks?
Well, I mean, we've still got 10 people watching.
Seriously? Dear God.
Yeah. It says that on the screen. 10.
Must be. You guys aren't not bored or something? You got it's listening to me ramble on.
I have a regular bunch of people that come. They're all good people. They are.
No, everyone seems so friendly, and I guess this is where I've kind of failed, and this is me as a person, I suspect, is that when it came to other content creators, I was very hesitant at speaking to them. So when I started listening to you, it's like, oh, actually, there's a really nice bunch of people out there. Wow,
this guy called the Indie Gamer has been commenting on my videos for the past year, but I didn't realise he was a content creator.
This is the irony, because sometimes I look at the comments and it's got someone's picture and they've got no subs. You're like, oh, okay, it's just someone who's just being polite and nice. I'm like, oh, thank you, fantastic. And I must admit, I was like, I try and respond to everyone's comments. I don't get many, so it's always nice in that regards. And I suppose it didn't click. I just didn't click at all. And then when it was on, it's like, as I said, I only looked through it last night. I was like, dear God, Indy's been following me for such a bloody long time. I'm like, wow, props, thank you very much, sort of thing. I just hope that hopefully that I've improved. And if actually he's going to get a big head now. If you'd noticed, in the last couple of reviews, my intro's changed. And it was mostly due to watching his intro change. I looked at mine, went, well, mine's really, really crap.
All right.
And he changed his intro, and I was like, mine's really crap compared to that. And it's one of those things. I did this intro, and you can tell it's a bad intro, to be honest with you. It's like a picture with a little bit of overlay and a little bit of music, and it looks probably something from someone like a 15-year-old can do on their mobile phone. So I was like, I've really probably got to update that. Because I saw his intro, he changed it. I was like, it looks really good. Oh, I should probably do something. So he inspired me to do a different intro, and that's what I've got now.
Yeah,
you've gone quiet. You did. I know.
I was reading the chat. Seriously, though, your reviews are awesome. That's what Indy said.
Thank you very much, mate. Honestly, it's time-consuming but enjoyable. I'd like to think my reviews are based on old-style review gaming magazines back in the day, like Sega Force or Crash, if anyone knows anything from the Spectrum era. And they had and if you've read those, you'll see there's a similar setup where they go through, the gameplay, the premise, the control system, the graphics, the sound. And then I looked at that and I thought, do you know what? I missed that sort of style of writing and style of reading a review. And that's how I kind of came across and did decide to go along and do my one.
I think it's a very good way, because a lot of people, because like in a lot of reviews on YouTube, you just get the video. You don't get, because if you're looking at a 15-minute
video gameplay, and that's it, and an overlay.
People don't put their whole review written in the description. You don't see that really, and in yours,
I don't.
So where do you put? I'm pretty. Are you sure? No, you don't.
No, what I do, I put a first segment in, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because I put a first segment in, and then on Twitter, I put the video in, say here's where it is. Yeah. Then underneath that, I say here's a link to the written review, which goes on mine's.
Oh, sorry, I got myself mixed up then. I thought you put it in the description.
I think BG does that, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I think they do.
I might get fired again.
I seem to know more about their side than you do. You've been with them for a lot longer. This is how it's. See, I notice things. I really notice things. I must admit, but it's I looked at it and I thought, well, that's a pretty good idea. But then I was like, well, then it's going to take away, because I like also when I do a written review, I like to put in screenshots. You can't do that in the description box. So I was like, I understand whilst they're doing it, and probably what I should do is I probably should link the written review in the description, and that is my bad. I probably should do that. So if people do then want to see a written review of the actual game, it's linked straight in. I've put a link to my profile page in the description, but I haven't put the actual review in there. I should probably do that.
Yeah, it's Jeepers that does it. For BG Forge, it is. But yeah, Indy noticed it as well. I don't often look in the description. You see, that's why.
Well, this is it. That's what I thought. I stopped. It's like I only give enough of a small description of the game, what it's about, and then hopefully people just look at the actual. Because how many people do read the description? Some do. Don't get me wrong. It's great for timestamps.
You see, you read that? Well, Mayhem's just put removable sanity or hired, stubs you're fired.
It's only because I said I've done. I've worked at a gaming website. I was at 2 gaming websites. One was a friend of mine's, and then I then got moved over to the one that I co-owned after a short period of working underneath them. And it's everyone does something different, and to be honest with you, I like different. So don't think the way you do things versus the way someone may be doing it better. It is someone doing it better, and it works better for them, but you don't know that what you're not doing doesn't work for you, and you won't know until 3 or 4 months down the line. It's like, oh, my views have really dropped, or they're stagnant. Maybe I need to change things. That's another thing. Don't be afraid to change things up. Don't be afraid to modify how you do things. If you looked at the way I started creating content back in 2015 versus what I'm doing now, completely different. I mean, I was using bloody Xbox's video content creation tool.
I'll tell you one thing. Now, it surprised me. I had my micro box of X on. I don't know if you listened to his show that he was on, and that's what he still uses. He still uses it to make videos.
I'm impressed by that, because I found that an absolute for editing. It's great.
Do you think it's coming back on the next Xbox, or do you think that will be gone? I think it would be gone personally, but
I think, to be honest with you, it'll be gone. I don't know if they haven't updated it for
Upload
years.
Studio. That's it.
Yeah, Upload Studio. I started out on that, and it's for its transitions, for its cuts, for editing video. It's actually a pretty good tool. For doing reviews over, it's a nightmare because you have to, when you do your voiceover, one wrong move and you could really cock up your entire video. That's why an editing software is so much easier. You can just, you can take out your video, you can take out your voice work, change it around, nothing in that video changes. You could pause it, get off, move around, go to the toilet. Where if you make any mistake at the time for that upload editor, I mean, I lost entire vids when I first started because I pressed the wrong button. So I could see if they changed it and made it much more durable, and to be honest with you, if they linked it with a mouse and keyboard, it'd be a hell of a lot easier. We've got wireless keyboards. Why don't they do that? Why don't they just put in a video editing software that you could link to a mouse and keyboard? How many people would use it? I think a lot of people would use it.
I wouldn't use it. I'll be honest.
For getting in, I mean, for getting in, for starting things off.
Oh yeah, for starting things off, yeah, definitely.
I think a hell of a lot of people. You'd get a lot more content creators doing it.
I don't think it's coming back though, but I could be wrong. I think they're gonna, but they haven't removed it like for the Xbox, like shut it down. So it makes you wonder.
Well, to be honest, I hope they don't really shut it down too much, because I must admit, I don't know how, but I use the Upload Studio to go in and upload my videos, my captures, to OneDrive through that.
Oh, okay.
So if they do get rid of it, I hope they still give me the ability to upload to OneDrive, because that's how I do my
I know you're listening, Phil Spencer. Could you remove it now, please? I know you're a big listener of the Stubzcast.
He probably is. You don't know.
He will be coming on in the near future. Not really.
Don't you never say never. No. You never know where you're going to end up.
Even one of the biggest gaming podcasts. Is that an actual? It's got Paris in it. Oh God, it's not on YouTube. It's an actual podcast form, and they've done 1,000 episodes, and they had Phil Spencer on their 1,000th one, and they said how hard it is to get him to go on a podcast. I think,
do you know what it is with a podcast? It's live. He could cock up and say something. It can't be edited.
Their podcast isn't live.
Oh, isn't it?
No, it's not on YouTube. It's actual, like real podcasts should be, where you get the interview, you edit it down, you add all your sound effects, all your adverts, etc. It's one of them shows, and I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but as to what it's called, but it's a good podcast. It is.
Yes, you're right, Masked Mayhem. It was originally designed for the Kinect, which I also had.
I also had that as well.
And do you know what? You'll see one of my early videos. What was great about the Kinect, and probably the only thing great about Kinect, was that it could do green screen. And I did a little person green screen of me in the corner. So it was like when you're late at night, you see the people in the corner who are sign language. I could do that in my videos and make little funny skits and that. That was brilliant, because it would actually put a green screen behind you and you could do stupid little things, sort of thing. But yeah, anything else Kinect wise, I was kind of pointless. Good camera though.
I had a couple of the games on Kinect. The sports, I can't remember the name of them. I had a couple of the games. The games that came with it.
I did, but I found it was just too. It wasn't as responsive as I'd like it to be.
Welcome, Italian Clowns. Thanks for stopping by.
Yep, welcome to.
Wow. Husk has put the Series X could be an editing beast. Just saying, he's right. If they upgraded the software and made it a good go of it, it could be a beast.
It could be. And to be honest with you, it
would edit videos like really fast if they allowed that feature. That would be incredible.
It doesn't need much software. I mean, you look at the setup I've got. I have a tablet and I have a mobile phone, and I can edit video, do transitions, create overlays, do little skints in it, sort of thing. So yes, you can. It shouldn't be. I don't see why it shouldn't have that on there. I think at the moment, Xbox should throw everything they can.
Gamer Tag Radio, Gamer Tag Radio. That's what I'm on about. That's the podcast I'm on about. They got hit 1,000.
Ah, right. Okay.
It's in downloadable form only. It's not online.
Ah, right. Okay. See, I don't know. I think I like the live podcasts that can't be edited. That's why you asked me. Said, "Do you want the questions?" And I was like, "No."
I can edit. I can edit them.
So can you make me look pretty? Young.
I can do it. I had to do a live. I had to do an edit about a week or two ago when my son came down, and
you mentioned that. It was like, did you hear him?
And you said you heard him for a second. I went in and edited it out, so it kind of jumps the audio. It's when Trouble was on.
Yes,
but generally I don't edit it, and
I think live's better.
After let's have a look. Right, we're on the 12th episode, and every guest has had a list of questions. Now, I asked RemovableSanity, do you want a list of questions? And he's the first one to say no. So I respect you for that.
I think, well, it's because I kind of think if I have a list of questions and not knocking those who's come on previously, you can basically create an answer that suits you best, makes you look good in a way, and probably that's some of the best way to do it. Me, I just want to be as honest and as truthful as I am. So if I say something dodgy, you're going to hear about it right now. If I say something stupid, you'll hear about it right now. Hopefully you'll see me as who I am. Well, I say you'll hear me as who I am, live, uncensored, and hopefully maybe you might like me. with when you've got the questions, you can then create an answer to suit. That's how I view. That's how I looked at it.
You are right. I mean, Dreadpool's just saying that he always says no to having questions. Yeah, that was a good content. He was on ACS Husky's YouTube channel. He does a creator feature, and Dreadpool was on there. I did wonder if there was questions before, or he's on the fly.
I think it makes it. You don't know what's going to happen as someone comes on. You're like, anything can be asked. So I think I said to you, I said, if you want to ask if I'm single and I'm how old I am, you can do so. I won't know, will I, until it happens.
Husky mentioned on the last podcast that he doesn't have questions. He says, "Oh, I kind of wing it," and it works. And to be fair, his content curated thing does work because he doesn't have a list of questions.
I think that depends on who you are.
Yeah,
some people can have the ability to ask questions off the top of their head.
We probably just know the questions in your head. You know what I mean?
Well, it's not that a question can just pop up. I mean, sometimes I think I responded to I think it was on Dealer. I asked him a question, and it just popped into my head. Bam, there you go. Some people have that ability. Some people like to pre-plan questions because then they know they can gauge the time, they can gauge of what's going to happen, they can gauge things. They want to be a bit more. They can then plan things ahead, and they like that. That's the way they do. Yeah. So I think it works depending on who you are as a personality. If you can wing it, brilliant, because you can then some questions can come out of the blue and no one knows what's going to happen. But equally, if you can plan it and you can do so, and you can still provide a really great time, do so. Whatever works for you is the best way. There is no really right or wrong answer as long as it's entertaining, and hopefully that's the main element, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I actually have a list of questions in front of me now.
Have we got through any of them?
Yeah, we have. We got through all of them, apart from one I'll ask you in a minute. I actually got pen and paper here, people. I have a pen and paper. Something you don't...
Old school, mate. Old school.
Yeah, exactly. So
I'm a complete walking contradiction, mate. Honestly, I do. I think I told you this. I pay bills with check.
Yeah, you said yesterday. You did. No one does that. I don't even own a checkbook, I don't think.
as I said to you, it's an old school method, and my family were pretty poor, so we had to find workarounds at paying bills. And one good thing about checks, and it's still happening even today, is that the system registers it being paid, but it doesn't get taken out of your account for until about a week later. So it gives you a little bit of leeway, and that's kind of a throwback to when my family being poor.
That's fair enough. Yeah.
And so that's how I still do things, because it means I can then I've had a whole load of bills, and this one it still needs to be paid. Do it by check.
Yeah. So I mean, so what, like Dreadpool was saying, should be able to have the ability to follow a conversation. I can follow the conversation. I just make sure I've not asked them the same question twice, and sometimes I come up with, when you're talking about certain questions, you find like
Exactly.
I have tonight. I found new questions, but when you bring other stuff up, leads to good.
Well, that's it. It's good because then it makes the conversation flow, I think, a little better. Because you could be thinking of something, you're not regimented to a particular. You've got those questions there. They're almost like prompts, if that makes sense.
Exactly. Welcome, Invader Gaming. God,
Yes,
the
indeed.
whole chat
Welcome.
room's nearly like load of the chat room's like spanners everywhere. Do you want to be a spanner? Do you want to be one sanity?
I'll be a spanner. I mean, to be honest with you, that's probably one of the nicest, politest things that's ever been said to me. You spanner, So.
Here's a question for you.
Yep.
How do you make your thumbnails then? I presume you do it on some kind of app on your phone or your tablet.
I do indeed. It is. I'll just try and have a quick look now. It is Pixlr.
I've not heard of that one. Oh.
It is Pixlr is it looks like it's what's the best thing? It's almost like an album tool, so it can create best thing to do. It's more like it's a graphic tool effectively, and I spotted it. It was cheap. I think it was free, in fact, at the time when I was grabbing hold of it. But Pixlr, yeah, it was used actually. It was a video I spotted on YouTube of someone where they're doing overlays, they're doing smoke effects. I was like, wow, this just looks like a really good. Then I found it was on the Android App Store free, and I was like, well, okay, that's the best way of dealing with it. And so I then picked that up, and I use that now really for my thumbnails. My worry is my thumbnails aren't that good. I don't know if anyone thinks about my thumbnails. I don't know. I've seen so many amazing thumbnails out there.
They look good to me.
You can tell me if they look crap. You can. It won't hurt my feelings, honestly.
I'm just going to your channel now, actually.
Crap. That's awful. Jesus Christ, could he done better on that one?
But no, I'm not. I haven't actually made a thumbnail in a long time because I haven't made no videos in a long time. But this is going to change next week, hopefully.
I look at people's
very good. They're actually good thumbnails. They do the job.
I try to stay with the standard template throughout the whole process for the thumbnails, because it just means I have to try and I haven't got much time, so I need to try and streamline what I do to be the most effective way I deal with it. It's the same way I do my editing videos. I don't bring in a huge hours-long worth of gaming content. I split it up into 2-minute segments and then edit it that way. So it's a little bit easier and quicker. I've got templates. It's just trying to reduce as much time as possible, and stresses on the software which I'm using helps. Really does help, sort of thing. But when I see people's thumbnails, I don't know. There always seems, and you guys will probably know this. What is the deal with people making funny faces on their thumbnails?
I don't understand that either. I don't.
There's always someone looks like he's got a poker up his bum whilst pointing at something, and I'm like, is the thumbnail trying to tell me he's screaming at something, or is it? I mean, it's like, is it there to try and make? It must do the job, because obviously I spotted it, but I'm just like, what is that? Does anyone know? Does it? Or am I just an old fart and people are like, oh God? What is this person?
But no,
You've gone quiet now, mate. Yeah. Is that because it's like, dear God, will he shut up? Can he just get rid of him?
no, you're fine. It's nice. What did I say last week, Daz? I can't remember. I said a lot of things, but no.
Dear God, why did I bring this person on? Maybe slightly large text. That is another thing. Yes, Husk, that is possibly a good point. I'm trying to work out the actual ratio because I think it's a 16:9 thumbnail. And it's weird because when I look at the thumbnail in the editing software, it looks perfect. When I then upload it, depending on if it's on a tablet, whether it's on a PC website, if it's a PC website, it seems to be working really well. But then it doesn't seem to scale right sometimes with the mobile devices. So I'm like, is it me doing something wrong? Have I not done it right? So I am looking into that. You're right. And I'm just trying to make sure. Also, I don't want the words to be too much over the actual image itself. I see. Oh, Matt's there. Matt's first. Is this the longest show? Love it.
Right, let's have a look, shall we? Do you want to go through? Should we go through a record then? This is the longest show. Right, well, let's have a look.
I mean, are you trying to prompt me to say, can you keep going until midnight? Because there is no problem with that. I have no. I can go to 1 a.m. if you really want to push it.
Right. 58 minutes last week. No, the current record is Michael Mullis from NLG at 2 hours and 30 minutes and 6 seconds is the current record.
Right, that's it. I can't let him do that. That's fine. Right, we're here till 2 a.m. though, lads. That's it. Get your PJs on.
Have anyone got any questions they want answering in the chat?
Besides, bugger off.
Well, people are liking
going.
the show. People are liking the show, and also Husk. We will have to do a collaboration show if you want to do a co-interview. We can.
I'm up for anything. I mean, I'll talk for love nor money. There is no issue there. I have no problem interviewing people. I have no problem being interviewed. As long as you can put up with me, that is probably the biggest thing.
Oh, definitely. No, he was asking me if I would do some kind of collaboration with him.
There you go.
I will.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. You see, you're getting yourself out there, mate. You're gonna be a rock star before you know it.
I wouldn't say that. I'm not professional enough for that.
Yeah, but I think you're very professional in terms of what it is. You come across very professional, sort of thing. It takes time. Of anything, geez.
Here's a question. Husker's just asked you, why did you choose that logo?
The skull, in terms of what my avatar is talking about.
Yeah, I believe so.
I saw the picture, and it's actually not a picture of my. It was I've changed and edited to make it, look a little better. The reason I have a fascination with skulls, I do have a fascination with skulls. I have tattoos on my body, and they are all of skulls. I think one of the things well, maybe it's not skulls. One of the things is it's death. I kind of have a fascination with it. Bit morbid, I must admit. Not in terms of death in its ending, in its uniqueness. For me, when I see, I like the concept of death. That's a weird way. Dear God, that's going to put a lot of people off now.
Really? Oh.
What I find it interesting is with it's going to happen to all of us, regardless of what it is,
true.
and I just find it unique in terms of that this thing is going to happen to us regardless of where we are. So it helps us become. I'd like to think it helps us, enjoy every day what it is as it is. I think, and I just kind of find it fascinating. I kind of find the whole end of thing a little bit fascinating. I kind of find, skulls, death, and all that. Maybe it's like a gothic, a gothic. I can't think of the actual particular wording now. Maybe I'm just weird. But I do like skulls, and the reason why. So I saw this image, I doctored it and edited it, and to suit what I preferred. And I'm a big fan, and this is probably UK Dazzlers will appreciate this. I'm a big fan of Scorpion and Mortal Kombat. But I thought, well, I can't really, take that as an avatar. I'll try now. And I'm also a fan of He-Man and Skeletor. I'm also a fan of the Grim Reaper. So I thought, well, I saw the image and I kind of doctored it, and I said, I like skulls and death and that sort of thing. So that's how that came around, sort of thing.
Well, you like death.
Paul, my friend is a crematation specialist. You see, I'd be interested in finding. I'm just interested. It's like, what do they do there? What is it they do in there? It'd be interesting. I just find it interesting.
I know some people that do that job. And do you know that they don't actually know, and that people have their bodies pushed through the hole? They don't actually. It doesn't happen then and there. People think it does. It happens late at night. They all get
no.
And one thing that a lot of people you wouldn't appreciate to know is that you don't always end up with your relatives' ashes. You end up with whoever's ashes are in there. So you could.
Do you know what? I kind of wondered. I always wondered. Like, I heard rumors that it could be a dog's or something. It could be something. It could.
It's not. It's obviously it could be anyone who's had one that day.
Yeah.
But it's not. But they can't tell you that. A lot of people
no.
find that out.
Yeah, you've got Mrs. Wiggins, Mr. Smiths, and Mr. Hartley's. Exactly. It's kind of all been blended in, sort of thing. They were first.
Yeah, it's true.
I suppose in a way, I've always, I'm a product of the 70s, 80s child. You look at the films that are around the area, there was a lot of death films, sort of thing. And it was just, I found it interesting. And I think maybe that's where it's come across, is that it's like, oh, this is really interesting. Some of the films there, I was like, yeah, looks a little bit interesting. And I've always kind of been fascinated by it, sort of thing. I'm not afraid of it. I'm just fascinated about what people do about it. I'm a nosy guy. That's probably what it is.
Oh, okay, fair enough. A UK Dazzler says he has done it before, and now it's not at night, Stubbs. Not where he's from. Well, the place where I know the people that done it, they used to do theirs at night. I don't know if they still do. But I've been asked to say something by Mass Mayhem, so I will say it. Don't laugh.
Okay.
How much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? I don't know.
That's an old thing, isn't it? Jesus Christ, I haven't heard that for a while. How much could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck chuck could woodwood?
How did you do that quickly? Goodness.
4.
Yeah.
I don't know, to be honest. I mean, oh God. Do you find being a creator on a podcast, do you find this has helped you in any way? Here's a question for everybody here. Do you find content creators speaking to other content creators helpful in just in terms of information, but also in understanding that people are also going through the same problems as maybe what you're going through when you start off, or at any point throughout your creation period?
I have. I mean, I got a deeper insight into. I've learned a lot. I have, because, as you say, I speak to so many different creators, and it's just an insight into how they do things. So yeah, I have learned stuff, and as Daz pointed out, I said I was going to do a video last week, and that I said that last week because I haven't got my computer yet. My computer's coming next week, so I will be doing it.
Do you need a computer? Because you can. There's a nice little tablet and a mobile phone you'd like to. I would not recommend editing software.
Yeah, I probably said it wrong, Mass. By the way, I'm not very good at riddles like that.
I wouldn't recommend doing it. I wouldn't recommend doing content creation the way I do it. I must admit, it's a unique way. It's a different way of dealing with it, and it can be a pain in the arse way of dealing with it. But I do enjoy challenges, and that's the only real reason why I'm doing it. Otherwise, just get yourself a PC or a laptop and do it properly, as some people will say.
Oh yeah, a lot of people do say that.
Well, you know, I mean, if people looked at my setup, they would probably think I'm nuts. I mean, I have a tablet, I have a gaming headphones with a removable mic, and which is what I speak on. So I don't even have a professional mic set up. So I'm hoping the mic that everyone's hearing to me now actually is clear and crisp.
Now. You're now the longest running podcast in Stubzcast history.
Oh dear God. I don't know whether that's a good thing or that is a bad thing. But hopefully hopefully I'm entertaining you guys.
Yeah,
I see Matt Spooner. They said when creators get together, it blends the audiences of both and introduces new people to many. Haven't come across today's guest, but he's got a new follower because of the show. Thank you very much, Matt Burns. Thank you very much. It is much appreciated. Yes, I think this is one of the things I said about Stubz podcast early on, is that he's very willing to speak to anybody, and because of that, he's going to have a unique insight of creators and the platform in general, because he's willing to speak with those who are, you know, small, very small like myself, to the big guys like Dealer. He's going to have a unique show, I think, and I think it is going to do very well. Not blowing smoke up his backside, but I think it is going to do very well, and I think it's one of those unique shows that I think will, you know, as long as he continues to do it, it will get better and it will get better and it will get, you know, it will hit everything. And because he's willing to do different genres, not just gaming, I think, and tell me if I'm going wrong here, Stubz, but that's what you are. You are thinking is branching out to every content creator on the platform.
Yeah, I'm not used to people saying this kind of stuff about me. It's nice, but he's always
getting a little bit shy.
He's always DMing me, telling me stuff like this. But yeah, I do plan to eventually branch it out. I have reached out to another channel that is basically like he makes drawing. That
would be brilliant.
It's a YouTuber called The Art of Horror, and he has said he wants to come on, and we're going to sort a time and date out, and he's going to come on.
That'd be very interesting, yeah.
I think it's horror. Basically does sketches where obviously he can't record the whole, you know, you'd be there for hours, but he speeds it up so you can see him drawing it. So he's hit 1,000 subs. So recently, I've been watching him for a while, but I recently asked him, and he said, "Yeah, I'm willing to come on." So we're going to sort it. I don't know when, but we're going to sort it out. So yeah, I am willing to expand it into different.
I think it would be beneficial for you, mate.
Different creators as well. I know the gaming bit's massive, but I do want to drop in some different creators to vary it up. I do appreciate the comments you say, but I'm not used to a lot of praise like that. I know people like to say that it's good, but when someone's actually
would you just prefer a little bit more of like a subdued sort of, you know, so you know, like you know, Stubz, for crying out loud, mate, just stop being a tit. You know, is that what you prefer, more of a?
No, I do appreciate all the comments, but yeah, it's been a very good show. I think we'll end it there because even
I will continue talking if you bloody well don't. So yes,
but Dreadpool to keep it going, because when I come on, I will beat that time. But I will have you on Dreadpool at some point, definitely.
Then if you do that, Dreadpool, that means I've got to come back and try and rebeat it. And trust me, I will.
Well, 33 minutes in a minute. But thank you for coming, everyone. Would you like to tell people where they can catch you if they haven't followed you or subscribed on your platform?
Yes, I am. Please, you know, I'm at RemovableSanity on Twitter. I'm at RemovableSanity on Minds.com. At RemovableSanity on BitChute and YouTube. So you can follow me on there. I haven't branched into Facebook yet because I'm kind of a bit annoyed with Facebook. But apart from that, you can follow me on those social media sites. I try to post something entertaining. On Twitter, I try and post a lot about indie games. So not to take anything from the indie gamer, but I do try and post stuff like that. And if you want to chat with me, or even if you like my content, please subscribe. Thank you very much if you do.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. You've done very well. I know you were quite nervous about coming onto the show. As you never really.
I'm following Dealer. Come on, let's face it. I mean,
yeah, Dealer's used to doing podcasts, isn't he? Whereas it doesn't matter. We've had a good chat tonight. We've had a lot of community members in.
Yeah, I think that's it's been very helpful.
Very helpful, and a lot of people will learn a lot from this podcast. And yes, Matt Barnes, this is currently the longest show so far to date by about 5 or so minutes at the minute, because Mike.
Trust me, I can keep going. I think Stubz is getting a bit tired though.
No, Matt, it is 11:36 in the UK at the minute. So yeah. Thanks,
it wasn't as bad as last night. We was 1 a.m. and we were still chatting.
It was. But yes, if you'd like to check out Stubz Gaming on Twitter, drop us a follow. If you want to drop a subscribe on this channel, I'd much appreciate it. You can also download all the shows on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I'm working on Google Podcasts at the minute, so I should have more information soon. I'm getting all that sorted, so you can download all the shows there. I'm sorting it all out, but it's taking time. It is. But thanks for tuning in as always. And next week we have Wilmy Hood on the show. We do.
Oh.
The show will be slightly later next week. It will, because I'm on a different podcast, but that's not my place to say next week.
Well, I'll be watching.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. As always.
Have a good, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.